So both tables closed, now forming a new lineup at our 9-handed final table. The final 9 in this 25K super high roller, all now guaranteed $87,000. Congratulations to all 9 players. Money jumps with every elimination. The Wcoop trophy up top. And finally, the field is united, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. There's nice to see Kowalski with the good luck, everyone in the chat. You know, this is a very meaningful final table, even for seasoned pros. You know, this is the kind of money that you're hoping to hit. But I think, again, guys, like I was saying, I just think it's super interesting to see how cagey these guys are playing. And these are some of the best in the world. So if you're seeing them not go for that thin value, if you're seeing them play king, queen, kind of cagey, get into the river, they realize the value of their chips. This is the ICM thing again. Like, they realize that they don't want to be in situations where they have really, really awful decisions. Recognizing the spots that are super hyper value and they always must go for it, and then recognize the situations that would usually be value but aren't, is how they're surviving these stages. You know, this is how they're sticking it out. It's really, really cool to see.
So 116 entries, that's 81 unique players and 35 re-entries. Now down to the final table, down to the final 9. It's Chris Oliver, aka I'm Da Nuts, playing from Costa Rica, who comes into this FT as chip leader with 7.7 million. We've got 2 Brazilians at the final table. We established with Howard Swains about 40 minutes ago that Brazil have already won 21 titles this season. Fabiano Kowalski and Pedro Padilla looking to make that 22. Adrian Mateos, Spanish pro who plays from the UK. Space 411 is from Russia. Justin Bonomo playing from Canada. Crazy Lissy is from Russia. KZHH, the reigning Scoop main event champion, is from Hungary. And then we've got Centaurus playing from Germany.
Okay. The interesting point here, guys, 10-8 off, not part of that cutoff range, excuse me. But look at the chips. Look at the chips, people. These are the gears that people are trying to get through, right? I have all the chips. I will punish those who are beneath me. The middling stacks in particular have to be very, very concerned about getting tangled up in a spot like this. Amadi, for example, ace-9 off could be a hand that he might want to 3-bet here, right? It could be a hand that he could play aggressively and try and take it down pre. But Amadi, of everyone here at this table, is probably the best example of somebody that's under the ICM pressure. If you're a shorty, you need chips to win. If you're the big stack, you can punish everyone. If you're in the middle, that pressure is on you. Flaming berries in the river. But, you know, he's in a spot here where he knows he has to be slow. He has to play his hand slow. There's no reason to get out of line. There's a bunch of other people that are under threat directly, and they can take the risk for you where they can pick up chips, where they can bust and you can pick up, you know, a bigger payout. You can ladder.
I forget how old Adrian Mateos is, Nick. I know he's ridiculously young, and he's a player with 4 Wcoop titles, 5 Scoop titles, 3 World Series of Poker bracelets. He won the EPT Grand Final back in 2015. Absurd amount of prize money and an absurd amount of talent.
Yeah, some people just got it, you know. This is a great question for you, James. You've been in the game for a while. You know, do you believe in poker talent? You know, obviously there's lots of people that benefit from study, but do you believe in just raw? You know, do you think there's like an extra 10%, 20% in people where they're just born for it?
Yes. By the way, when you say I've been in the game for a long time, I've been observing the game for a long time. Yes, I believe that there are, obviously we know that with the modern game that study is so important. But I do genuinely believe there are some people who just have, you're absolutely right, Nick, that extra special quality, who just have that natural gift for the game.
Yeah. I've thought about that a lot. You know, I really wonder what are the characteristics, because there must be some humanistic characteristic that is just directly intrinsic to the idea of crushing poker, and it might be about it might be about reading people, but if there's one thing that online poker has taught us, it's really about reading situation. Like we've seen 1,000 times before, the movies want to tell us that you notice the guy twitching and that's the tell and you picked up on the tell or whatever. Yeah. But these guys are annihilating a game where they just don't even see humanity for 12 hours straight. They're sitting in front of a computer and absolutely crushing and understanding the game at such a high level. It really is fascinating to try and break that down. I've always wondered about that.
We've got an all in here. KZHH shoving with ace-7. Crazy Lissy with ace-6 of hearts. Not a lot of chips, but ace-6 suited.
Yeah. James is right. Come on, you're not playing ace-6 suited, but you're definitely not messing around. I tell you what, use a couple seconds of your 155-second time bank and fold. No more than 5. No, he's gone too far now. It's gone too far. It's gone too far. This is a tell at this point. This is a tell. He's used 10 seconds now. Okay, it's 20 seconds now. No, this is too far. This is too far. Yeah, your chips are so much more valuable than ace-6 suited here. I would be very surprised to see if he calls here. He's sitting on that kind of a stack that's right in the zone, right? You got other people that are shorter than you. And you're just in a spot here where you just don't want to be punting it off with ace-6 suited, I don't think. But the ace-7 suited shove indicates his awareness of the fact that he's the shortest and he needs to put on the pressure. Now, if he was sat there 2 big stacks against big stacks, I'm very confident he would not be putting himself in the same situation under risk to bust. Yeah.
Makes the fold, and it is Centaurus who is the shortest stack right now with 990k at the start of this hand. Chris Oliver still chip leader with close to 8 million. Blind staying at 40-80 for another 15 minutes. Fabiano Kowalski, pocket 4s.
Yeah, it's
called by Adrian Mateos with pocket 6s.
So
was it the last time Kowalski had 4s that he made a full house? Not this time. This is all spades. Broadway plus a redraw. Is the Jack of Diamonds out there? The Jack of Diamonds is still live. Ladies and gentlemen, there is street flash potential here.
Wait, am I part of that graphic?
Royal flash, you are indeed.
Oh, I love when you guys do that. Thank you so much, guys. That's cool. I love that stuff. I really do.
Part of our little street flash mob.
Street flash.
Boring.
You got king, queen. You got the nuts. When are you going to bet? Put some money. What? I don't know. This is an interesting one. Like you can appreciate the little trappy checky on the river here, but there's been so little action that often indicates like a 10 or a jack. There's hands that will call you here that people will have even if they're checking it down to the river at this point. He's correctly identified though that he's not probably going to get any value from those particular combos. So he's pretty clued up on the situation, but goes for the check. Doesn't get the payday. Fair play though. I think it works out kind of the same no matter what. But I think the bet there is a bet or a check there is pretty close to a coin flip, I think.
Adrian Mateos opening with queen 6 of clubs. We've got ace 10 suited for Justin Bonomo. Kowalski with the bond, 7-5 of spades.
This is interesting, guys. Look at this. Look at this open. Queen 6 suited from that position. Final table. This is out of line. But again, ace 10 suited. There's a hand that people might play differently in this situation in a vacuum. Final table adjustment. Ace 10 suited going as a flat. And it feels a lot better to flat with ace 10 suited in this spot, the suited variety as opposed to the offsuit, because it does have much better playability out of position. Wow. And rewarded.
Look at the equity that Adrian Mateos has here. Even
in a
though
multi-way pot as well.
Even though ace high is the best hand right now. Queens and sixes alive, clubs alive.
Yeah,
Now the
I mean,
equity switch.
Notice the non-C bet here as well, guys. Isn't that crazy? Again, going back to sort of spots that we expect, spots we don't expect, he gets so much more information by checking this flop with queen high and the club draw, because his opponent's acting out of position on the turn is so much more of an indication of strength or weakness, as opposed to him c-betting and then getting check raised, or him c-betting and then having to deal with something else on the flop. So I know it feels wrong not to go for the bet in this situation, but it's so high level. And now if your opponent starts betting, you can still call. The pot's still small. You're saving yourself chips. You can just realize the equity of your hand much easier with less risk. But when they check on the turn, both of them, you're just going to take it down every time. You're just always getting away with it here every single time. And they're not going to act out of character. They're not going to try and punish you because it's final table. And the realization that you get so much more honesty from these situations at a final table is what makes tournament poker very interesting. You know, that's the kind of thing that you have to exploit. And it's really, really cool to see here.
Crazy Lissy opening with ace 10, round to Justin Bonomo on the button, who's got 10-9. And then we've got the two Brazilians in the blinds, Fabiano Kowalski with 9-4 in the small, and Pedro Padilla with 8-3 off in the big. Two faults. I figure Adrian Mateos might fancy this one. King 10 suited. Yeah. Your band asking if any of the players at the final table are in for more than one bullet. Indeed, there are two players in for more than one bullet, and they are in for 3 bullets. Everyone bar Spays 411 and Justin Bonomo, Z Justin, is in for 25K. But both Spays and Z Justin paid $75,000 to play this. Granted, we know that Spays' initial buy-in was via a satellite, so maybe slightly less than 75K. But hey, guaranteed 87,000 now, so guaranteed profit. And yeah, this could get interesting, Nick.
It doesn't look that significant, right? You're like, oh, he's just got bottom pair, but you need to understand he also has the gutter. So with the gut shot, it's near on impossible to fold to any sort of sizing here on the flop. You're just going to go ahead and peel all day. I think first 2 bullets, and I like the size here as well from Amadi here. This is the kind of pattern that I favor. You know, small, big, small on the flop, bigger on the turn. Something like 60% on the turn seems like pretty cool. That's very, very solver-y. So I appreciate that. But the queen 9 on the flop there, again, just a hand that you never want to be letting go with a gut shot especially.
Pedro Padilla on the button with jacks. And how's he going to play this?
Yeah,
sub 20 bigs.
Good question. Good question. This is I guess it's a min raise. Well, no, sorry, I'm very confident it's a raise of some variety, like a min raise or something like that. Sorry, a click of some variety. But at some stage, you will reach a point where the shove looks weaker. I think you're too deep.
Oh,
yeah, and yeah, great play here from the ace-5. I know it's wrong. I know he gets it in bad, but I think you're always punishing in this situation with the ace-5 every single time. And again, guys, like
too late on the river. That's the double up for Pedro.
Yeah, this is the thing that I want to show you guys, and this is what I talk about a lot in the stream. The shove there from the ace-5 is wrong in the sense that it's not the best hand, but we're talking about ICM pressure, another amazing explanation of why ICM is so powerful. You're on the final table. These pay jumps are ginormous. Shoving ace-5 there where you have the blocker, you're going to get tons of folds, but you're going to get even more folds because people are trying to ladder, right? So he's going to shove super tight. Fold super tight.
This hand, Nick, is not about the ace-9 raise from Justin Bonomo. This hand is about the jacks of Centaurus, who is the short stack at this final table, and the ace-king of Crazy Lissy. And we are going to have a coin flip on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be off to the races, and it is a race that Centaurus will have to win to survive. shoves for 850k. Crazy Lissy likely to reshove. That'll get a fold from Z Justin, and we will run out that board.
Oh, this is so interesting. There's so many dynamics at play here with the ace-king. I mean, you're not getting away from it, but it is one of those spots. The small blind is going to be strong.
Ace-high flop. Jack required. Centaurus does not hit, and that is going to take us down to 8. Centaurus, the first player to bust from this final table. A 9th place finish, $87,327.30. Congratulations to the final 8, all now guaranteed a 6-figure score. They've all locked up at least $110,000. And ace-king again, this time for Fabiano Kowalski. Kowalski was the start of day chip leader, currently sits 3rd on the leaderboard, behind Adrian Mateos and Chris Oliver. I'm Donut, still chip leader with 6.1 million.
Yeah, 8-7 suited, mandatory defend here. Mandatory. I mean, I'm excited to defend 8-7 suited here. You know, it's such a gorgeous hand. Not the flop, though. Not the flop you're looking for.
Queens for Spays 411.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to see too much action here, though. Like, not really any of these hands should necessarily be getting involved here. Maybe the a6 from Padilla here, but I don't know if he's got the kind of stack where he wants to mess about here, kind of in no man's land. It's kind of an awkward one. If he's the bigger stack, I think he can probably go ahead and just do it. But yeah, he's probably going to get some action from the button, but that's pretty much it in this situation.
Adrian Mateos making it 160k with Jack 7. There is a shove from Spays, not mucking about. And it is worth observing, Nick, that these stacks are getting shallow in a lot of cases. In 5 minutes' time, we're going to be at the 5,100 blind level, and that's going to really put, obviously it puts the pressure on the short stacks, but it puts a lot of other players in a really awkward position where they're going to be really handcuffed by the ICM considerations you explained so well earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, guys. And this is the kind of stuff that I think this is what brings the value to these streams, right? Like, it's one thing to watch people win a bunch of money, and that's awesome. But if we're going to get any takeaway from this, I think this is why I enjoy doing the late game with you guys. It's just because there's so much interesting dynamic, and witnessing how all these guys are playing when they're very good is interesting, but also just like actually seeing it in play. Like, it's so rare that you get to watch every single hand being played, you know, face up in this manner, especially by good players. But the sort of adjustments that people are making pre-flop, I think, are super meaningful. And when people ask the question, you know, why are these guys so much better than everyone else? It's these adjustments that I think are so subtle. It's not fancy. It's not like winning huge pots. It's not, you know, like, you know, did I play aces right? Did I play kings right? That kind of thing. It's just like watching these guys making these cool little subtle adjustments that go unseen that make them superior to tons of other players.
Well, as we reach the business end of this 25k, I need a portion of calamari. I need to get the squid into this stream. Sam Grafton, welcome to the arena. Good to have you with us for the final table of this super high roller event.
Hello, boys. How we doing?
How's it going,
Sam?
Good to see you, man. Whereabouts are you, Sam?
Still got 2 players flying the flag for Brazil, Sam. Kowalski and Padilla.
Mate, Padilla knocked me out of this yesterday on my 3rd bullet, so I'm not rooting for him. And he knocked me out of the ticket as well, so. No, my fellow countrymen always root for the fellow Brazilians.
Yeah. The kind of, I mean, as you'd expect, final table, the super high roller, of course, it's going to be all big names, all familiar names, talented players. But the big surprise for us was this is the first time we've had Justin Bonomo on stream. Since we've been doing our Cards Up online coverage from last summer, this is the first time we've had Z Justin under the spotlight.
Yeah, it's always exciting to see Bonomo play. Obviously, a legend of the game. Like, had so many results over such a long period. Really, really tough guy to play against. Not someone you want at your table at all. I guess, obviously, I mean, this is someone that plays just such high stakes around the world, you know, across probably cash games as well. That flat hit from KZHH, a little bit suspicious, perhaps, but it might allow Padilla in. Well, would have been interesting if he came. And I think Amadi will cotton on to the strength of this flatting range. But yeah, in terms of Z Justin, I mean, he's just obviously on a very, very strong final table, a kind of standout headline name, if you like, and you know, obviously achieved everything that you can achieve in the game. And so it'll be exciting to see him play. I was going to say, I just think that even 5K buy-ins don't, you know, this is a guy that really wants to play super, super high stakes, and a 25K is really in his wheelhouse. While a lot of even these players are stepping up to play a 25K.
Absolutely.
It's sort of run-of-the-mill buy-in for someone of Z Justin's caliber.
And on the subject of the buy-in, Sam, as you know, this is an interactive show, and we do invite questions from the audience. A Mr. Tonka P says, "Hi, Sam. Did you play in this tournament?"
Yeah, I did. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. I mean, you're lucky that I'm here, to be honest. There's some chance. If I didn't have to get out of, I just got 9th in the 1K as well. So if I didn't have to get out of bed for the 1K, day 2 of the 1K, you might not have seen me. You're lucky I didn't just switch my phone on airplane mode and roll over and get some more sleep.
Well, we are very glad to have you with us, Sam. We are moving across the PokerStars arena. The 25K is on break. We're going to show you some action from earlier in the medium version of event 34. It's the 2K8 max. As we pick up the action, 24 players remain. They are playing down to the final table tonight, and we're going to stream that final table tomorrow. Will Lex Veldhuis have a seat at that 9-handed FT? He's still in action with 3 tables remaining, and he's got queens here.
Yeah, and tens might not see the strength of this 3-bet. I think you just have to 4-bet and get this in all likelihood, against Lex's stack. See, it is kind of strong when people 3-bet the button, but I don't think that Snasso will be passing up pocket tens here. And it's going to mean a nice spot, dodging 2 outs for Lex.
Yeah,
7 the Crow, 7.
Specifically 2 outs.
With 2 sevens. Suspicious.
That's why he's tanking, by the way. He normally doesn't fold that, I guess.
No. Flex,
yeah, and this is not exciting now with the tens, but obviously you set up the price.
So that is a double up for Lex, 3.2 million.
Yeah, nice spot now for Lex.
Ace-4 suited.
Very nice spot. He runs good, Lex Veldhuis. He runs good. I've never seen him lose an all-in, I don't think.
Well, I would say that obviously he's had a lot of deep runs, but he hasn't had a win yet. So clearly some of those all-ins are not going his way.
I've personally never seen him lose an all-in. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. Maybe some of his dedicated streamers, maybe like once a session. Certainly not 2 outs.
His post this morning on Twitter was literally, "This has been the worst 7 days of my life playing poker ever."
Oh, mate. I played a final with him. I had pocket kings against him, all in. I didn't have the best starting hand. 4-handed. Only 4 people. 8 cards were dealt. I have 2 kings, and he's got a better holding. What does that tell you? And,
well, this is going to be an exciting one, because we've got the pocket rockets, plus Lex is sitting there with the snowmans.
Num. Yeah, and an 8 is going to be folded here, so let's hope for, if you're a Lex fan, a board with some high cards so he doesn't have to get too involved. Wow, a little bit of something.
We got the bluff zinc in the house as well.
Oh, spade draw now for Decor to go with the overpair. Lex still with the open-ended straight draw.
Yeah, and 8 shrivels in value a lot on this turn card because just a lot harder to steer your hand to showdown, and snap calls the turn. And Decor could go for a check here and try and get Lex to value bet worse sometimes, turn some hands into a bluff, a hand like, yeah, and Lex very low in his range now, right? Loses to King Jack, King Queen, Ace King without a spade. He's going to have Ace Queen sometimes with the spade as well in this line.
350k from Lex. And here comes the check raise.
Yeah, makes some sense.
1 million the fold from Lex. And they play on in event 34M as we head back to the final table of 34 high. This is the $25,000 buy-in super high roller with 8 players remaining. A few shallow stacks out there, including KZHH and Justin Bonomo. And it is Christopher I'm the Nuts Oliver who has the chip lead right now with 78 bigs. Sam Grafton and Nick Walsh sticking around. I'm going to take a break and leave you in the hands of Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies. Welcome back once again to the FT. That's short for final table, which completely negates the point of abbreviating it in the first place. The $25,000 super high roller, Joe Stapleton, Nick Walsh, Sam Grafton, and 8 of the biggest names in online poker, all vying for over $650,000 for first place.
Yeah, there is some big names indeed here. Mateus, of course, Amadi 017. Also another, amongst the high caliber field, another headliner. Obviously, someone that just racks up result after result. Very, very cool customer.
To the Nuts in the small blind, who is the chip leader. Crazy Lissy in the big blind, flopping a gut shot draw, ace high out in front. Oliver checks to Lissy. May take a stab at this, doesn't, checks it back.
It's interesting. How do you feel about a bet there, Sam? Like, what's your thought process here? Ace 5 with the gutter. I mean, it definitely could go either way because you're just going to have the best hand a lot of the time. But how do you feel about sort of quote unquote protecting your hand there, or just putting in a small one on the flop?
Yeah, for chips, you definitely value bet the ace, right? But I think under ICM, you just have to be that much more cautious because you can't defend as widely versus check raises. So, you're going to get pressurized a lot on an ace, right? So keeping your worst ace in your range. You don't actually fold out better on the flop. Like no ace X that's better folds. So I think just keeping it in the check range is good. And Crazy Lissy going to be pleased to show down here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the takeaway, we were talking about it earlier on, but I think the takeaway there is, like, if you're going to play the ace 5 slow, you also have to be aware of the fact you have to continue defending from bets on later streets as well, right? You got to, it's one thing to take the check on the flop, but if you're facing pressure, you have to be brave as well on later streets too. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting spot.
Kowalski opening things up here with pocket Kowalskis. Adrian Mateos in the big blind with a suited 4-gapper and hits 2 pair and a club. Yikes.
At least 4 gaps.
I just wonder, for every hand like this we see, how many big blind defends do we see out in the world of people being like, I got 9-4 suited, I got to defend, and just totally bricking? Hundreds,
Amadi's in the Lex category, though. Amadi is in the Lex category, though, where probably 3 out of 4 times he makes 2 pair or flops a flush or has a gut shot on a flush draw. Amadi's different level. And this is a very, very dry board to get check raised on. And this is a little bit of a problem for Kowalski.
Kowalski does need some help.
Yeah, and the 9-4 shrivels in value a little bit on that turn. King 10 comes in, Queen Jack makes 2 pair. These are all hands Kowalski can have. And obviously the run out, a diamond, a 10, a king, an 8. There's lots of bad rivers here for Adrian.
How much does it shrivel in value? Like a piece of paper left out in the sun, or like Nick Walsh diving into very cold water in the morning? Well, what sort of shrivel are we talking about here?
What a beautiful image. And Kowalski obviously with these 4 nut outs, and occasionally will have the best hand as well. So not folding, getting these pot odds, of course, just balancing the timings as these guys always do. And both players imagining certain rivers. And there you go.
Wow. Wow.
Certain river, indeed.
Wow.
And Kowalski's hoping for a check here, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Had a bunch of outs. Yeah. I mean,
Amadi's pretty low.
This feels like a bad card for 9-4.
Yeah.
You can beat ace queen, I guess, is the thing that you're really, really hoping for.
Yeah.
To beat
there's just
ace queen.
There's tons of combos on the turn that just have like a pair and a gut, pair and a straight draw, excuse me. You know, and definitely is that kind of weird run out where your opponents are going to have a ton of like 1 pair and a straight draw that got there on the river.
And Kowalski sneaks up into 2nd place with that fairly significant pot. Amadi drops to 4th. Anyway, what was my original point? Don't defend 9-4? I think so. By the way, when I say stuff like this, I don't mean it, guys. This is not financial advice, okay? I'm just being a results-oriented troll, okay? None of this is to be listened to. Listen to Nick Walsh. Listen to Sam Grafton.
Mostly listen to Sam.
I'm like the Colbert report here, being like, well, I guess the lesson to be learned here is don't defend 9-4.
Yeah, and by the way, those are big swings, right? Like that river card, you know, being a king rather than a 9 or a 4 or what have you. Even if it's an ace and it goes check, check, and Amadi wins. It's a lot of money changing hands in these pots, right? If we were to imagine this FT and the chips being worth almost like a cash game, how much money was transferred from Amadi's hands there to Kowalski? See, that money has to be realized in terms of like your position, your final position in the tournament. But no, that's a really unfortunate run out for Amadi. Really, really unfortunate river. So, you know, sometimes we obviously concentrate on the all-ins when someone loses a flip and busts out, money moves to different players at the table. But the same thing is happening there in these big, big pots.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's certainly a good point. I think you're preaching to the choir a little bit here, folks, tuning into the 5-hour-long, every hand revealed online final table. Probably understand that it's not all about the 2 jacks versus ace-king flips, but certainly worth pointing out that right there, you know, those sorts of hands and mitigating your losses and maximizing your wins is really, you know, where poker players build up their stacks to survive those flips later on. See Justin all in, dominating Kowalski with the ace-10.
How are you not calling here? This is sick. Oh wow, amazing fold there. I mean, again, another indication of the ICM situation. Like Sam was saying, we've mentioned it earlier as well. You know, if you kind of consider it like a cash game at this stage, those chips are so valuable, so valuable, and I think that's probably why ace-10 made the fold in that situation.
Speaking of it being valuable, when you're at this stage of a final table, Sam, are you ever thinking to yourself, what each big blind is actually worth in real money? Does that translation?
No, because it's too scary. It's too scary. I think it's like, obviously people,
Right.
there is occasionally a thing where people sell day 2 stacks, you know, or final table stacks for ICM. That obviously does take place sometimes in the world of high stakes. But I mean, it's even like, I remember I was chip leader in the main event on like day 3 of the World Series. And like what my stat, if I'd calculated what my stat was actually worth, I probably wouldn't have played another pot. Do you know what I mean? I would have just like, you know, I'd be folding pocket tens in the cutoff.
Sam, I know it's unethical, but if you ever want to sell a stack like that to me, I will take it over and fold my way so deep for you.
Yes.
You won't have to worry about a thing. You won't be tempted to play any hands, aces and kings, maybe not even kings, to be honest. Kings plus.
That could be your role in the poker community, right? You could be you could take over people's stacks, like, but you just have to do an impression. Like if you take over Amadi's stack, you got to speak with a Spanish accent. Then like you sit down and you're like, yeah, I'm Sam Grove, but you've got to speak with a British accent.
You hear that?
Yes.
Good day, mate. There you go. See, I got all the accents down.
Yeah, it's tougher being me because I talk a lot. I talk a lot at the table, whereas Amadi, you could just, as long as you wear a Ralph Lauren shirt, you don't have to say much. You just have to nod every now and again. You've just got to look really smart, which actually maybe is a bit of a challenge for you, Joe, you know? If people see your shirt untucked, they'll know it's not the real Amadi, you know? Because he's so suave.
Andrew Mateos definitely dresses like I did from about 8th to 11th grade. 3 clubs on board. Top pair still good. And
I did miss that, by the way, guys. I thought it was blind v blind. Yeah, sorry, guys are saying the shove was from UTG. I thought it was blind v blind. Sorry, guys. Thanks for pointing that out.
Don't apologize to Twitch chat. Just
you know,
look, do what everyone else does on the internet. Stick to your story till people forget about it. That's what I do.
That's gonna be awkward for Nick when he makes a 25K final and he shoves thinking it's like 8-9 suited, thinking it's blind on blind. It's actually over the top of an under the gun open because he's just misread the blinds.
Yeah, I'm on stream like, guys, this is a really close spot. Oh no, shit, no, it wasn't. No, not even close.
Action folds around to Kowalski on the button. King deuce suited. Raising into 2 significantly worse hands. 7-3, way out of the way. Queen 4 off. Here we go, guys. This one's right on the line, huh? Yep, just over it.
Yeah, Sam, what's the defend here? What's the range in this situation? You know, like what's the absolute bottom here?
Well, because you cover, you can play pretty close to chips, right? Because Kowalski's opening a normal button range, because Padilla's more handcuffed than normal. So you could play close-ish to chips. I personally would maybe drop out some of the combos like that, but you know, it's a matter of taste and style and your perception of Kowalski and such like.
Sam, I know we've been over this before, but speaking of taste and style, I actually really appreciate yours. And when you're saying we're playing for close to chips, are you saying that because those 2 stacks are relatively unlikely to get it all in, you can play it as a pot for chips, as it were, rather than having to consider it being for your tournament life?
Yeah, when you're well covered by another stack, they can put pressure on you, and your normal cooldowns, like you imagine your bluff catchers where you cool down top pair, no kicker, or second pair sometimes. You're going to have to fold those on a final table. So because you're folding more post-flop, you need to just have a tighter range, right? You need to be making flushes and strong top pairs more. But when the stacks are even, or if you cover, right? If you cover your opponent, you just play a normal range for chips. It's like, imagine it was a bounty tournament and you had 70 big blinds and your opponent had 10. You would actually play looser than you would normally play for chips, because A, you cover them, they've got to be cautious, they've got to check more, they can value bet less thinly, and B, you get this bounty reward. So there you're playing way wide, looser than chips. Sometimes you're playing tighter than chips, and in this one it's close. Like that's how I sort of conceptualize it. That's useful to me as a way of picturing my range. Like at the beginning of the tournament, I would defend these hands. Now I'm covered, I drop these out. Now I cover them. It's like when you're big stack, you open wider, and when you're short stack, you open tighter. And in that situation, the equilibrium is like, you know, loosely close to chips, I would imagine, you know. A little bit technical there, but I hope that's useful.
Just to learn the shorthand a little bit, so playing for chips is what you call the one thing. What do you call playing for stacks otherwise?
No, you know, under ICM, like with we call it like risk premium. Like when Kowalski raises and KZHH is in the big blind, there's a very heavy risk premium, we say, on KZHH. So the normal defense for 15 big blinds, let's say the worst hand you defend is 8-6 offsuit, you don't want to defend that, right? Because of the risk premium. It's the same with like cooldowns, right? Nick was saying earlier, if you make one chip in a cash game, if you make $1, that's absolutely fine. But under risk premium, you need a call that makes $10 is essentially like neutral, or 10 chips is neutral, right? That's the way it works. It's a very complicated thing, and by the way, I'm not like 100% certain. It's something that these players are sort of investigating. And one of the things that's exciting about a final, I wonder what I'm the Nuts is thinking about here, whether he's thinking about raising here. I mean, obviously Ace-Jack and Ace-Queen missed, Diamonds missed. There are some like quite obvious bluffs. Seems a little bit of a flimsy bluff catcher. I guess unblocking Queen-Jack and Ace-Jack is quite nice.
I don't feel like we see as many bluffs in this spot as people give consideration to bluffs in this spot. And, oh, wow, there we go. Definitely felt like there were enough bluffs in Kowalski's range to make that call. Kowalski way out in front now this field. 8 million in chips. Spays second with 4 million. Parky 2192 says, wow, no respect. We don't look at things like that anymore, do we? Do we ever? We don't really put things into the respect category anymore, I don't think.
I think that was a really excellent explanation, by the way, Sam. I think that's exactly the way that people should be adjusting over the course of the tournament. You know, and this sort of this premium concept that he was making reference to is super interesting to consider.
And we've got KZ up and down against bottom pair. And lo and behold, somebody made a straight draw. Kowalski drawing to a chop.
Yeah, and obviously there are hands that have a pair plus a flush draw, or a straight draw plus a flush draw. For that reason, KZHH gonna protect here. And Kowalski wisely letting it go.
I would like to address Bazooka Benj's question with another question. Bazooka Benj asks, first place is only 600K for a 25K buy-in. I thought it was millions. I'll answer this question with another question. Where do you think the money comes from when people win a poker tournament? Just. By
the way, you need to do
I'll wait.
Do the rockets. Do the rockets button here, please.
Oh, sure.
So come on, you have the power. And this is a really big spot for I'm the Nuts, who just lost a big hand to Kowalski, because we can see a jack folded, and when this 4-bet comes in, I don't know whether it's going to be all in or a jam. Presume a shove from Amadi, but we shall see. I'm the Nuts is going to have a very tough decision. Jax is going to be right on the line. Amadi with a little, well, I mean, he can be thinking about sizing, but a little bit of Hollywood here. A little bit of
which
Amadi.
Which way would you lean, Sam? Would you lean towards the 3-bet, the 4-bet all-in, excuse me, or the 4-bet jam? Do you think?
I think that there are let's suppose you have queens or ace king off. If Kowalski goes all in and I'm the nuts goes all in, you're going to fold. So therefore, I think this is quite nice. This is quite nice. Amadi obviously going to know this spot very well. Have a very sophisticated sense of how it should be approached, and very, very weird now for I'm the nuts. This would be an impressive fold if he can make it.
It's one of those spots where, like, you know, you're going to look super strong no matter what, right? You're going to look crazy strong if you flat. You're going to look, you know, somewhat less strong but still super strong if you 4-bet in this context.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, it's nice for I'm the nuts that the ace and the king. But ace king will just shove at least some portion of the time, particularly ace king suited, and not a lot really change. See, some portion of the time, I would imagine ace king just piles it in, possibly, and now being offered a very inviting price. The pot will getting bigger and bigger.
Can you just fold this, Sam? Can you just get away? Not to say that calling is wrong, but can you sometimes just fold jacks right there?
I would imagine it's quite close. Really depends on whether Amadi has the bluffs. What hands do you play? Aces, kings, and queens. Do you call your whole range versus the 4-bet, or do you stick some of them in? You know, do you have ace queen here, right? Ace queen is like quite a lot of combos. Blocks aces very nicely, and Amadi
now
with the
folding's pretty tough.
check back.
Now it's real easy to convince yourself that it was one of those times that ace king doesn't shove.
I hear what Sam is saying. I think ace queen is so hard to have in this situation. Like I don't know if you're flatting the cold 4-bet with ace queen in this spot. You know, ace queen suited maybe. I don't know. It's like it was such a good price for him to call, but still, it's very, very hard.
Yeah, and Amadi, such a cool customer to be able to check that turn back. Goes for it all. Really identifying almost the exact hand I'm the nuts has, putting them on jacks or kings. And I'm the nuts now with a big decision. Will be eliminated in 8th.
It feels bad, doesn't it? It feels bad here with jacks. You just know it doesn't feel right. This is such a weird situation. Very, very unusual.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that unusual. They have it. They always have it.
It's quite true, bro. I could do with that as a little like voice note, so it just make me fold.
You could look. I know it's one player to a hand. If you just want to just text me like an exclamation point sometime or whatever, just ping me and I'll just write back. They have it, and I don't think that's really
like an auto response. Joe Stapleton is away, but they have it. So
sorry guys, I gotta step away from this family dinner real quick. Sam's yes, they have it. Okay, bye.
I mean, this is a huge swing here for Chris Oliver. This is as tough as it gets. You're on a huge final against one of the best in the world. You're in a 4-bet pot on the river, facing an all-in with a pure bluff catcher. I mean, I think, by the way, the bluff sometimes jacks blocks the bluff as well, right? He needs the bluff ace-king.
Good point.
Yes, good fold, Chris Oliver. Take a bow, Chris Oliver. Really nice. Don't know whether he could have got away for less. Probably had to call the flop once he got there. Really nice from I'm the nuts. And, you know, big pot for Amadi, who is a comfortable second in chips. But let's give credit to I'm the nuts, who lives to fight another day.
And Amadi leaps back up into second place.
Sam, how do you feel about just the fold pre? Just the pure, just get away pre-flop. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know. Like I know Patrick Leonard just folds these like it's nothing. He loves these folds, like these big folds. Whenever I see him play, he's always folding something huge. So, you know, I do know that some people do it. I don't know. It's tough. You can always hit a jack. It's not illegal, by the way.
Well, no, yeah, it's one of those weird ones where it's like the price is so righteous, and you're just like, you know, like I play poker, it's a great price. I know what that means, but it just feels so uber strong from that position, doesn't it? It is a really close one, I think. Yeah, it's interesting to think about.
Isn't it weird though that folding there for many of us does not, like, you're way more likely when you hit your jack to think you're an amazing player than making that fold. You just feel so much better about yourself when you call the 400K and spike the set, as opposed to folding there. You just feel terrible. Up and down now for I'm the nuts. Lots and lots of outs.
Yeah, and quite frequently we see this kind of hand check back here, wanting to realize its equity. But
oh, talk about equity.
And another up and down straight draw completed.
And Kowalski might go for value here, right? With a block bet, decides not to. It's hard to think what I'm the nuts would bluff here. I guess he can value bet worse. A little surprised.
Yeah, I think given the way the hand was played, it felt a little bit like I'm the nuts might have had an ace high kind of combo, you know, with all those checks, which, you know, king queen off often plays very frequently through streets, the same as an ace high combo, right? You have this, you have a considerably strong hand, and you have this high card combo that you don't necessarily need to turn into a bluff. So I think the check on the river does give him an opportunity here to make some more. He makes the flat though. Nice. Loses the minimum.
If only it worked like that, right? You make a big laid out, and the very next hand you get to value bet the river. I mean, if only. A lot of people in chat asking me to ask Sam how he fared in this event.
Trolls, ban them all. One by one. Ban them, close their Stars account, find out where they live, and send them hate mail.
Hey man, jump on Stars.
I'm not big on needling people, especially in 25K events, but
I mean, I'm happy to say. I mean, it's of course this is high stakes poker. It's you know, we watch the finals when it's great. Hey, here's all these guys winning money, and can look like high stakes poker is this big jolly up where we all win huge sums of money, but super painful, by the way. It's very, you know, I bust my third bullet in a very marginal spot, and it's a very, you play all day Sunday, and then, you know, your day ends with, like, you know, busting a bit off the money in a big tournament. It's really, really tough. So, you know, it's just, it's credit to, it makes me think how amazing Z Justin and Amadi, these guys that have been playing super high stakes for a long, long time, you know? The mentality you have to have when you have big downswings, you know, when you have big downswings at $100 ABI, it's tough. When you have big downswings at ABI 10K, 5K, 25K, I mean, it's really, really tough to get through. I mean, I struggle a little bit with it, to be honest.
Look,
you know?
If those questions were considered to be trolls, then you must like this one from Parky. Lol, his net worth probably over 10 mil. They try to needle over 25K. You hear that, Sam? You're worth $10 million.
I didn't know that, Sam. Why didn't
10
you tell
mil
me?
and the rest. 10 mil. That's all. Conservative.
10 mil liquid. 10 mil liquid.
Yeah,
Kowalski
I've got 10
makes
million
the queen
NFTs,
eye flush
bro.
on this river.
Oh man,
Yeah,
value
and
bets.
Again, there's some pretty obvious bluffs here, depending on how wide Kowalski flats. But nice lay down from space 411. But
Really
I've got to
nice
say, is the one player unless someone in chat or you guys, well, I was going to talk about it, Space. We'll talk again in a moment because Space, who makes a good laydown there, is certainly going to want to open the King Queen of Diamonds. We've got the Ace 10 of Clubs. I'm the nuts, a hand that you very, very often want to VPip in this situation, and Crazy Lissy lurking with the aces.
Feels like a flat, right? You want to flat this one pre a lot of the time.
You want to, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy Lissy in the big blind.
Listen,
Yeah,
Joe.
and Crazy Lissy really loving the flat here because this incentivizes you to squeeze a lot more, right? With Ace 9 offsuit or Ace 5, Ace 4 suited, probably not Ace 4 suited, but whatever the combos are, like Ace Jack off, just squeeze fold, you know, and take it down. And so it's going to look more like a light squeeze when I'm the Nuts has called from small blind.
Yeah.
Again, the old aces tank here. A little bit of acting. A little bit of. It's difficult to know.
It's really pretty easy to Hollywood in online poker.
Wow, good lay down from Space against the actual hand. I gotta say, I would be pretty.
If only they had waited 3 or 4 more seconds, it would have been believable.
Sure.
Now, Sam, is it true that you moved to Brazil simply so that you don't have to explain to your parents anymore why you're done playing poker so early every night?
What do you mean? Like you mean that I bust out the tournaments? I don't quite get it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, imagine the 25K buy-in in Reales. That's something you don't want to think about. A lot of money in Reales.
Amati still behind, but did flop a gut shot.
Yeah, and who you think is going to win this hand now? A board that's so favorable for the big blind. Amati with the ace of clubs blocker as well. Very, very nice hand to try it. Knock KZHH out with exactly this type of ace queen holding.
Wow.
And KZHH sticks around.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, it's just such a good spot for Amati just to barrel. And like, you know, worst case scenario on the turn, you have the gutter as well. So, you know, it just feels right. Feels like you just got to pull the trigger.
I feel like this is the exact double reverse situation Sam was talking about moments ago, and I asked him about playing for chips. There it is.
Oh.
Snap fold of ace queen. Pressurized, as Sam Grafton would say.
Oh, what a punisher. That is an insane punishing river bet there. The overbet jam feels awesome.
I mentioned before that often you don't really feel good about the plays that you don't get to see the result of, but I bet Amati's feeling pretty good regardless after that move.
Yeah, when things go your way like this, you know, picking up the right hands, having the right bluff combos. Obviously, we saw that 9-4 of clubs go against him a moment ago, where he flopped 2 pair and was outdrawn on the river by Kowalski. But since then, everything going the way of Adrian Mateus. Obviously, it requires some execution as well.
Seven, 10 of hearts for Amati. Was there any doubt? Pocket jacks for KZ of hearts. Shoves, wins. Tiger Woods asks, how long of a delay is this? It's like a center delay, like a middle table delay. I don't know. Kind of like center screen is what I would say for how long of a delay it is. It's a pot delay, pot size delay. Are we getting closer yet? I'm the nuts raising ace queen. Over to Kowalski in the big blind, dominated queen 10.
Seems like a mandatory defend.
Yep. King 7 tray, 2 clubs.
Okay, 1/4 on the flop, 1/4 size, 175,000. There you go, close enough. All right, that's what I'm talking about.
You are so far. You're off by 7,000. That is,
when you say it like
that
that,
is
yeah.
a lot.
Sorry,
Tiger
guys,
Woods
let the squad down.
following up with, was just wondering if there's any way to ensure the players aren't watching this stream. Yeah, it's called a code of ethics. It's called
Poker players are known to
sportsmanship.
be extremely, you know, honorable people. I've never heard of a poker player doing anything dodgy, ever. BVB.
Kowalski takes it down, still out in front here, but Amati closed the gap in a big way with the last couple of hands. We watched Adrian Mateos play. It's neck and neck at the top. Crazy Lissy in third.
Yeah, and do we know anything about Space 411? Did they get in on a satellite? Are they, you know, I've never played against Space 411 before, I don't believe. So particularly exciting for them. You know, a 25K Wcoop final, going to be amongst the highlights of any poker player's career, pretty much any poker player's career. And but particularly if you're not used to this kind of buy-in, it's got to be particularly thrilling when you lay down the king queen suited and you were against aces, when you fold the top pair and see you were against a flush.
Yeah.
I mean, some great players
to...
didn't even make the money of this tournament. Some great players fired 3 bullets and didn't even
players
cash.
Like...
So the prestige.
I wonder who he's referring to 1, 2, 3 times.
Prestige.
Padilla, worth mentioning, is a recent Wcoop winner. Already has a title this year.
Yeah, we covered that on Wednesday, Joe. The third part of the trilogy, you and me.
Oh, Padilla.
Didn't you say something along the lines of the third part's usually disappointing?
Sure. That's Sofia Coppola's fault, but yeah. And Padilla being quiet, trying to get a cheeky one through here. And Crazy Lissy with a potential bluff combo. And Amadi lurking with a big hand in the big blind.
So, Sammy, you're saying trying to get a cheeky one through. I mean, I kind of felt the same one about this particular combo with this stack. You feel like probably it's pretty fringe, isn't it, Queen 10 off? It seems like an obvious one in a vacuum, but in the context of a final table with his stack, I feel like, yeah, you're probably going to want to avoid this one quite often, right?
Yeah. It's, I mean, you definitely can't open Queen 9 off, right? No, absolutely no way. So it's very, very fringe. Normally, the suited version I think is fine. It's a matter of preference. It's what you consider, how you consider the lineup behind to play. But opening into the chip leader, particularly, you got to be very, very, very cautious. And Z Justin going for the open jam here.
Wow, I really did not expect that with KZ also being about the same size stack. And good for him, gets it through. Pocket sixes now for Z Justin. Obviously one spot sooner, and we have got the snowmen's for Kowalski.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Sam. These guys are so clued up as well regarding, you know, putting the ICM pressure on people. And we've already seen it twice, you know, since I've been doing this since we've been covering this final table. You know, guys know how hard they can shove against that kind of an open from that position against that stack, right? And they're going to exploit that. Messing with people who are just going to softly. What a flop for 5-3 suited, though.
Dreammaker gonna make you mad, Spaceman, with the 3 5s. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Surricate pointing out that Pedro Padilla must be livid right now. So mad. Folded the sourdough. Oh boy.
I'm sure he's extremely mad. No, he's probably fine.
Mate, the ace is tank. Here you go. Everyone does it, even opening. I think that's quite good, by the way. People do normally open quick when they have a good hand. When they have an easy open, it's like a legit tell. So it's pretty good to balance there, but yeah, it's funny.
The fastest open is King Queen suited. I was just about to say that. Let's see. Nope. Well, he's good. Padilla's good. Look at this.
Oh,
Even tagging with the
so
King
good.
Queen suited.
So good. So good.
It's really good, actually. Poker. There used to be this software which would balance your timing tells, so you could press raise and then it would delay you opening. And PokerStars banned it because it was like the most annoying thing to play against someone that would have a timer on to balance like 1 to 20 seconds every single decision. Super tilting bit of software. And Z Justin again, so fearless, by the way. So
they got you banned, Nick?
He thinks
I got banned on a random Euro site for that because that was their they were like, oh, this guy is just always doing this specific thing with his time bank or whatever.
I mean, if they're detecting bots and you act with the exact same amount of time every single time, it's very bot-like. I can kind of understand that.
It was that, and also they accused me of playing too many tables too consistently and having too high of a win rate. So it was like I was playing a bunch of heads up or something like that, and basically they said
sick brag.
What a brag. That's like when your wife accuses you of taking Viagra, right? And you're like, come on, this is me. This is all me. I'm not, no assistance here. Come on.
There's a
they accuse me. Go on, Nick. Tell us.
Yeah, no, so there's a payoff because basically what they said, I was like, look, guys, seriously, you got this all wrong. And they're like, we don't believe you. They got this wrong. So they made me take a picture of myself next to my computer with a world clock on the screen, holding a passport directly next to my face. And then they also forced me to record myself playing, 5 tables of heads up or something simultaneously, which is not a lot of heads up tables, by the way. And they basically were like, yeah, you have to record yourself for an hour playing that game consistently without any additional software. But we got to figure it out eventually. I provided the documentation, so to speak.
If I worked in the security department, I would throw a little something extra in there too and be like, and you have to have a banana on your head while you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for us here in the office.
Right. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, anybody can Photoshop what you just described, but now put a banana on your head, and yeah, that'll be the real decider.
See, Justin shoving again has picked up a decent amount of chips with his shoves that have gotten through, up to 2.5 million. KZ kind of in the weeds right now. Padilla not faring much better. Spades with the king queen offsuit. Crazy Lissy with a very defendable hand.
Even Joe Stapleton would defend ace-10 off. Even he.
Correct.
The cynic of the big blind would flick it in with ace-10 off.
And I would definitely just
big blind pessimist.
Fold here.
Professional big blind pessimist, Joe Stapleton. And this
You've heard of the big blind special. I am big blind special needs.
A little bit small on a board with so many gut shots, but does get it done. Crazy. I think, these guys going to have a little bit of a sense that this is a big spot for Spades based on how they played so far, and gonna give them a lot of, give Spades 4-1-1 a lot of credit when they open, for stronger hands. You can see that from Crazy Lissy folding to that sizing.
Padilla, King 10. And is probably going to get pressurized by Amadi one way or another. Do you mind if I say pressurized while you're here, Sam? Is that okay?
And Amadi might lead here. Yeah, I think it's a good spot to lead, by the way. That's fair enough. And Padilla here, no diamond and no sixes that they open, no 7x. Will obviously have a lot of overpairs that need protection. And Amadi might do things another way with a little check raise. See, 400K to Amadi, not that much, right? If they go 400K and have to fold to the all-in, it's not really a problem. Whereas Padilla, very hard to bluff. It elects to check. Maybe thinking that they could represent a diamond or lead on a 7. And it allows Padilla to get there on the turn.
I'm guessing he prefers I'm guessing he prefers the check raise when he has like sort of the bottom end of the gutter. That seems to be more frequent when you're looking at solver kind of stuff. Like when you got 2 overcards to the board and then the gut shot, it seems to be more flats. But then if you have the bottom end of the gutter here, you probably go elect for the check raise a little bit more frequently, where you have less equity theoretically.
Very disciplined, by the way, Amadi here, realizing that in this run out is not a run out that he can bluff. Some people feel like 10 high have got to bluff, but just gives up. And Padilla obviously loving life with the full house.
Yeah, very well disguised.
Let's see.
Thing is, yeah, I mean, just not got any bluffs really.
Still pretty good news though for Padilla, who is now up over the 2 million mark for the first time in a while. Bad news for KZHH, who now is alone at the bottom of the leaderboard. Crazy Lissy with ace jack. And Crazy KZ with a pretty poor hand.
Yeah, I've got to say it's a little unfortunate because my girlfriend thinks that Crazy Lissy's a girl. So she's always, when she sees Crazy Lissy's deep, she's always like, my queen, there she is again. She's so good. And I actually know Crazy Lissy's like real name, and I know it's not a girl, but I've not had the heart to tell her because it's like her icon. KZHH here with pocket 10s, which are going to go in. I'm already going to have a very close decision against a much tighter than normal range. See if he could see KZHH's hand, he would call. It's a little awkward with Queen Jack off. Getting a very, very inviting price.
Oh, the call has been made. We are flipping, but there's a 10 on the flop. That's going to be tough for Queen Jack to catch up. It's a full house on the end, so that's a double up for KZHH. So no one below 2 million in chips now. Everyone fighting super hard.
Yeah, Sam's been talking about crazy swings. That's a crazy swing right there. That flip is unbelievably valuable for KZHH. That's really, really hardcore. That's amazing.
And yeah, and that puts Kowalski back on top now. Amadi taking a slight blow to his stack.
Yeah, and Amadi opening very, very wide with space in the small blind. And
see
as the
Justin
covering stack
gets another shove through.
Yeah, and this is how I think of Justin, actually. Very, very efficient. You know, it's just like finds the hand, puts the money in, picks up the pot, no messing around, just very, very clean, simple, nothing esoteric necessarily. And just, I mean, obviously there's a, you know, sophistication to his game, but yeah, just yeah, I've got the hand, find a call. Is what this man does. Very, very tough to play against. And Kowalski shouldn't be defending. What was it they used to call 310? Was it the kitchens?
Kitchens.
They used to call it back in the day. Back in the day.
The old kitchens.
For those of us who used to grind in 2011, back in the day where you could just do silly stuff because it had a funny name. Those are the real glory days of poker. Play high stakes and still do stuff to you know. Used to have notes on regs like would rather 5-bet all in and show a 7 than win. You know, that was the kind of like players you were up against, professionals who would just like you'd flash.
That's the heyday of respect, right? Respecting people's raises is another, you know, that's absolutely. showing a 7 or showing a deuce. All right. Well, I do have some sad news to announce. Nicholas Walsh, we have appreciated your commentary, your sterling work today, but it's time to say goodbye to Nick. Thank you, sir.
I love you guys. Thank you very much, guys.
See you, bro.
See you, Sam.
I am fond. I'm not ready to say I love you yet. Okay. Amati opening. Ace queen offsuit. Oh man, it's gonna run into a monster here.
Yeah, this is quite close between defend and shove. I think against Amadi, who's been opening very loose, might want to just put it in, but he elects to call.
I think there's other factors for getting it in there too, not just Amadi opening loose, but just how difficult it's going to be to play against Amadi post-flop when you miss with this, which is going to happen most of the time. I am a big fan of just getting it in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna obviously with no need to bluff or do anything complicated with this hand. We'll just want to sort of steer it to showdown against Ace Jack and Ace 10, and Armadi, of course, as well. You know, beats all undernuts is unpaired hands, so probably without a spade in hand won't bluff. Yeah. With Nick, the thing to say is, I love being around you, right? Like that's what you say. Like if someone says I love you, but you don't want to say it back, you just say, Joe Stable, you just say, I love being around you, you know?
I've been with my girlfriend for, we're in our 4th year now, but when I first told her I loved her, it was really early, but I was like, no, what I mean is like, I love you like I love pizza. Like I love Seinfeld. That's how I mean it. I love Seinfeld. I love pizza. I love you. I love being around you is exactly what it is, Sam.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
I'm still waiting to tell her it for real one day. Action folds around to Chris Oliver. 10-9 off. Is this the mini Grafton, or do you have nothing to do with 10-9 offsuit?
10-9 off. It's just an average hand, run-of-the-mill hand. It's the suited version. That's
different story. Crazy Lissy with a pocket pair. Not to be confused for Crazy Melissa. Shoves on Oliver. Picks up that blind. Sam, are you in a position to accept visitors in Brazil, assuming that they don't come carrying disease?
Why? You're gonna come down and stay?
Yeah, if I was gonna, would you welcome me with open arms?
Of course, we can squeeze 2 heads in this box. We can just sit on my chair. I can budge along.
I would wait till the end of Wcoop. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of Wcoop, I'll be heading to World Series, possibly. possibly could be their thing. And so Padilla just rips it in rather than having to raise and face a tough decision or negotiate the streets against a covering big blind.
Kowalski with ace-jack. The majority of the chips. Chris Oliver, ace-queen, once again facing an open.
Yeah, and speaking of that era of the kitchens, I'm the nuts. When I first started playing tournament poker seriously, was an absolute. He was like the boss of all bosses, #1 in the world.
He was
on
the
pocket
nuts.
fives, making the final of PCA. Guy with a lot of swag about him. Presumes that Kowalski will relinquish the ace-jack. Not quite strong enough against a mid-position shove. It's obviously one of the weird things about shoving ace-queen there. You can't actually get called by worse.
Kowalski eventually ditches the king-8 offsuit. Pocket eights for Padilla, the snowman's nom-nom. And Spades defends king-jack, misses this flop pretty hard. Checks to the pre-flop razor. I'm always super afraid of people calling with defending with any ace in the big blind in these spots, Sam. Is that a rational fear to have?
I mean, it's just, yeah, you've just got the stronger aces, so you just get to bet small, hope for a fold, and then go from there. Of course, all right,
very good.
But
super high roller going on break. We don't take breaks during Wcoop, though. There's still the medium event happening to 2K8 max. $214,000 for first place, and there are 19 players remaining. And some familiar faces, of course, here. Smill the hero. Someone we've seen plenty of. Daniel Smilkovich.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and 3D Temujin is another player that plays a lot. Seven the Crow, 7. His caps letters spelling out hero is a very well considered UK player. Good friend of mine, actually. Flies a little below the radar, but definitely a top guy and strong player.
Can't rain all the time. Remember the Crow? Remember what a phenomenon the Crow was?
The movie?
Yeah.
With Aaliyah. Actually, you know what? This is completely true, by the way. I should mention this, speaking of movies. Last night, obviously, as we've touched on, a bit of a debacle of a day. Not feeling in the best mood when I finished the session. What comfort movie do you think I put on and watched from start to finish to cheer me up? And by the end of it, actually, I felt like playing poker again. It's not Rounders, by the way, but it's a movie I recommended to you when we first started doing these little... And both players rivering a 9 here.
I do want to mention, by the way, this action from earlier. This is not our usual 30-minute delay.
Well, seeing as you've exhausted yourself guessing there, Joe, what are you doing? Are you on, is your girlfriend parading around naked?
I was getting notes
distracted
from production saying that I needed to say that this happened earlier. Sorry, that's what I was paying attention to. Give me the setup again. A movie that you recommended to me.
Joe Stapleton tuning out here, heads up commentary, and he's
did not like my review.
Well, yeah, what was that? What was that?
You did not like my review of the Battle of Algiers.
Oh, I didn't see your... I did watch the Mayor of Easttown because you banged on about it so much on Twitter. Just to point out here, obviously Lex going to be in real trouble if he fast plays his flush draw here, because Zanasso with the very, very dominating sourdough suited. And obviously this is a board that hits the big blind. The only player with,
oh
well,
boy,
just rips it in.
Oh, Lexi. Lex Feldhaus wagering all of his betting chips.
Artisanal.
Sourdough making an appearance. There's the call. Ace Jack folds. Lex in big trouble.
No,
Whoa,
always.
Lex
I told
goes
you. I told you.
Runner. He backdoors the straight. Zanasso, send every throwable you have. I mean, that's really, really.
I mean, yet further evidence that PokerStars is rigged in favor of their streamers. I mean, it's pretty much, do we need more evidence than that? Do we need that 8 on the river? I think that concludes it. Please tweet at Lex Feldhaus if you believe that he runs better than anyone. Please let him know. Yeah, very, very fortunate. And you got to feel for Znasso there, getting it in very, very good shape.
All right, well, it's time to resume action over today's main event, the 25K super high roller. Fabiano Kowalski still leading, but it is quite shallow. As you can see, a 25 big blind average. And now would be a good time to relinquish the reins back to James Hardigan.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Hold on a sec. I went away an hour ago and there were 8 players. I've come back and there are still 8 players. What happened?
Yeah, I couldn't get it done.
Disappointing, Joe. Might need to do some cranking. Sam Grafton, white men can't jump.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, but we'd already discussed that because I watched it. Recently, I mean,
yeah, but
within
Joe,
the last
if
year.
Wow, a little bit surprised that this shove from KZHH is flipping. Dodging.
Gets the double up.
I'm a little bit surprised at that shove there from KZHH. Not a huge fan, but it works out very, very well. And Chris Oliver, who survived that confrontation with Amadi earlier, making a big, big fold on the river, comes off worse yet again. And now is the extreme short stack. Going to really hamper Z Justin in spots like this.
So what are we at right now? 71.40. Still got near enough 20 minutes to run on this blind level. 25 big blind average. And this is the flush draw for Kowalski.
Yeah, and just to say, Kowalski going to raise and shove a lot of aces here, where Z Justin has a few traps. For that reason, we'll take a stab. Just to say what a big swing that was. I'm the Nuts would be chip leader if a queen, jack, ace, or king, or whatever the other card was, comes on the river, right? Overall chip leader, and instead is the extreme short stack. KZHH, depending on what happens here, will be second in chips or chip leader themselves. So, you know, fortunes changing, you know. We spoke about small pots going in one direction or another. That's a lot of money changing hands, but it's really, it's going to alter the course of this final table in a very, very drastic way, in all likelihood. And Z Justin, with no spade in hand, not going to try and bluff this river, knows that he has to be incredibly cautious anyway against a chip leader. And can't be making like value bets, so we'll just surrender.
Well, Fabiano Kowalski came into day 2 of this 25K as the chip leader. with 8 players remaining. He is back in the catbird seat. Kowalski 1 playing 6.2 million. KZHH currently second in chips with Ace King opens to 308,000. Is there a chance that Pedro Padilla makes a stand here with sourdough suited? Oh, wrong button.
I mean, technically it is a straight flush draw if the 4 of hearts hadn't been folded already.
That is true. I meant this one.
Nope. I don't think you did.
No.
Oof.
I mean, should I just
James
press
Hart,
every
can we
button
get
and hope
Nick
for the
Walsh back?
best?
I mean,
I'm going to give it one last try. One last try.
White man can't jump.
Sourdough suited.
Yes.
Which is
Wow.
artisanal.
oh no.
And that will finally see our 8th place elimination. We say goodbye to Pedro Padilla. Took down the 10K last week. Out in 8th place in the 25K, cashing for $110,211, taking us down to 7 players as the reigning Scoop main event champ moves into the #1 position. KZHH now playing 8.1 million.
Yeah, and Z Justin's style has been just a shove. Yeah, it does just put this in, not what knowing that he can't really raise call this hand, can just shove and fold out, you know, pocket pairs and such like, picking up the pot. And I'm the nuts, very nice for them. Skip the big blind and saw a player eliminated, gained $30,000 and skip the big blind. It is a very, very high ante final, by the way. You can see that the antes in the middle, even 7-handed, nearly the equivalent of a big blind. A lot of money out there, each and every hand, by the way. But I'm the nuts will just sit back for a moment, hope that there's collisions. And KZHH, having held against the Ace-5, is now very, very big chip leader. Amadi with a loose-ish defend. Big sizing here, you notice, from KZHH. Think how the Jack-4 of clubs shrivels. No way to improve. Well, versus the value portion of KZHH. Obviously, that is a good turn card, but, you know, you obviously no way to make a really, really nut holding. Unfortunate turn for KZHH. It's the kind of bad to have the King of Hearts in your hand. And look at this. Not a great run out for Amadi. And KZHH, the Ace King comes in. The 9X makes a straight. Surely a must bluff spot.
Goes for 1.3 million. So Mateos with trip jacks, we can see that. 100% equity, we can see that. But from his perspective, Sam, how much is he worried about the fact that this is a straighty flushy paired board?
Yeah, you just have a pure bluff catcher, basically, on the river.
9 million chips.
Mateos folds the best hand.
Yeah, I think maybe just fold flop there with the top pair versus the big sizing. You're just in real trouble.
Just a quick one. That medium event, the medium version of this that we dropped in on during the break. I mean, there's 2 tables left right now. There could be a really strong final table, and we're going to stream that tomorrow. I'm just looking at the players still in. We know that Lex is in the hunt. Pads is going for his 3rd title of the series. Pafchen, Lars Luzak, Krakukra, Kowalski 1, Fabiano Kowalski, making a deep run in both the high and medium versions of this event.
What a story that would be. What a story that would be.
On the one hand,
Yeah,
it's
and
a story. On
these
the other hand, I feel bad that like you can't just celebrate your win without having to close out the other final table.
Well, good problem to have. And very light flop throw from Spades. We haven't seen this very much at all from them. Obviously, some sort of backup with the straight and flush draws. And Amadi checking back the ace-5. And what Space does on this river, just checks, hoping to show down against, I don't know what, a queen high, maybe some such holding. And Amadi considering going for value here. Really has a strong sense that Spades might just have a worse 5. Doesn't do it, understandably.
Well, the big hand here is the pocket kings of spades in the small blind. Mateos might get the action started with ace-9 suited. Just a quick note on Kowalski 1, Sam, one of your fellow countrymen. Fabiano won a 5K high roller during Wcoop last year, and he joined us on the stream. And it was one of those moments where we were joking about the fact that he has a dog as his avatar rather than as a cat. And he did point out that that is actually his dog, and his dog made an appearance on the stream, which for many people was the highlight of our Wcoop coverage from last year. You can't go wrong with putting people's pets on camera.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I mean,
yeah, what a legend. Nice guy for sure, and very, very accomplished player.
I mean, that guy's dog gets more mentions on stream than Arlie Shaban.
To be fair, Ali Shaban is as hairy as Fabiano's dog, but arguably has not made as many Wcoop final tables.
That's true.
So Kowalski takes off a card. Obviously, the nice thing about pocket 5s is when you do turn a set, it's very, very, very nutty. Obviously, it has a spade as well. And
it's a bit nutty.
KZHH. And KZHH going for this very subtle, delayed check back line. Does look like they might have hit a 10 or had an ace high that they now rivered an ace. Very, very believable that they have a hand like ace 10 in this line. And for that reason, you know, I like the subtle sizing as if they've got really no bluffs in this line.
Hero
8,
call
9 and queen 9. Oh, let's go, Kowalski. I mean, I think obviously look at the 5-6. It's like you kind of block the bluffs that take this line, but he is considering it. Lays it down, understandably. But it just shows there's more than one way. Yeah, I'm just going to say there's more than one way to win a pot. See KZHH just not going for that upfront aggression of barreling, taking a more subtle line against Kowalski and getting the job done nonetheless.
The two biggest stacks going to war there, and KZHH increasing their chip lead at this final table now. 9 million chips. Kowalski still second on the leaderboard with 5.2 million. And again, they go to the flop. KZHH flopping top pair. Kowalski 3-1 favorite with the overpair. Nine's still good.
Nine's way good and way likely to be good.
Yeah, it's a nice position for Kowalski because obviously KZHH has a hand that they are probably forced to call a bet with on the turn. One of the few hands you can get really nice value from without having too many outs against you.
Wow, come on.
Super frustrating river for Kowalski 1. one of the very worst cards they could see. And Kowalski won't go for a giant sizing, I don't think, just because there are some trap checks in Kowalski's range. It's not always the nuts.
Oh.
Does go pretty big.
More than 3/4 pot. And Kowalski
and another
won.
big moment.
Yeah, we saw Kowalski 1 make that incorrect fold. Please don't make the incorrect call here.
I mean, it's quite... Nines kind of blocks 9-10 and Jack-9, which are going to be two of the hands that would call the turn and bluff the river. I mean, where are the bluffs here? It's like an ace-6, ace-2, perhaps. I think KZHH certainly has the bluffs. But on the other
Sam,
hand...
are bluffs here ever just two big cards that missed?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think King-Queen just calls a bet on the turn. Kowalski's got a very, very strong range flatting out the small blind. So when, yeah, he's got a very nice fold again from Kowalski. Really, really tough. A long day. Imagine a long day's poker yesterday. An intense final table today. It's real mental stress to play these big finals. Very attritional. And to have the, you know, again, being a little bit results oriented, obviously we could see it was a good fold. Would I be saying the same if it was a bluff? But, you know, working through the problem and having, you know, you can just want to call and find out against the chip leader as well. Very, very tough. Does lay it down. And when they see that on stream, they're going to be very, very pleased.
I mean,
it's pretty rare that you... Go ahead, James.
That KZHH does now have more than 10 million, has a 2-to-1 advantage over Kowalski 1, who's second in chips right now. KZHH getting to that position, Sam, where they can really start to turn the screw on a lot of these middling stacks, who, let's be honest, are pretty much short stacks. But with Chris Oliver sitting there with 600K,
yes, and that's again Amadi having to flat, and might have done that anyway, but has to flat the ace 10 in the big blind, because you just got to be very, you can't get cooled in this situation. And let's just, tournament poker, I mean, there's a reason people love to play it, the reason people love to watch it. Look at the turnaround in fortune. KZHH, since I came on screen, was the extreme short stack, won the crucial flip 10s against Queen Jack, then when 7s against Ace King, has gone from having 800K to 10.5 million, and in a commanding position. Remember, this is, of course, I forget whether it's Wcoop or Scoop champion, but an amazing turnaround.
Yeah,
I'm going to just insert a little brag as well, by the way. Did lose heads up to me in the 1K knockout on Saturday. So, no, I mean, you know, in a way, if he's the Wcoop champion, he's the Wcoop champion, and I beat him, what does that make me?
No.
Just like a little bit. He's like the champ, but I'm just slightly better than him, I guess, is one way of saying it, you know?
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that. It was this year's Spring Championship of Online Poker main event, the high buy-in version, the 10K, won it for $895,000.
Decent payday. Very decent.
So it really is KZHH and Kowalski, and nobody else really has that playable a stack.
Yeah, and I'm the nuts is a thorn in every player's side right now. Even Kowalski, not really excited to open the ace-9 suited into the big blind, given how tight, you know, this is a nice little open. KZHH in the small blind, a little bit more hamstrung about what they can do. Maybe I've spoken too soon, even considering 3-betting Queen Deuce off here. And spades, the Jack 10 suited, I think we do get to defend.
I think it'd be a really boss move if Chris Oliver just clicked the deal box right now.
Yeah, and just sort of sat out, hoping for a clash, hoping for carnage.
Kowalski back in action here with ace-5 suited.
Ooh, sourdough suited. Artisanal.
Yeah, and it's a very nice time to be picking up these suited aces. Like, to be having these suited aces, suited kings on finals, these kind of blocker hands are what you want to build your opening range around. And I wonder if Armadi ever just... No, it probably just opens, yeah. Probably just opens.
Why not? Why not if that's all it takes?
Oh.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and as much as I like spades, I'm hoping for a little bit of luck here for I'm the Nuts. I think Kowalski, despite the advantageous situation with the big stack, will recognize that spades been very, wow, does
Dead money there.
elect to peel.
Yeah, what's a big
And let's hope
blind?
for a bit of good luck for I'm the Nuts, who's this final table really gone against them. Very unfortunate in that ace king sevens flipped. Little bit of a fake flip when it comes to finals.
So here we go, the all-in from Chris Oliver, and spades.
Yes, will
Likely to
isolate.
re-raise, and that will get rid of Fabiano Kowalski. And here we go, king's way ahead. And Chris Oliver at risk, hits the ace on the turn, and that will see Chris Oliver survive. I'm the Nuts gets more than a double up to 1.4 million. Clinging on.
Yeah,
no offense to Chris Oliver, but man, you hate to see it.
Well, everyone else will be also pretty annoyed with Kowalski. Those two extra big blinds, here we go. Like now picking up the Queen Jack. Those two extra big blinds made a big difference, right? Because now I'm the Nuts is on 10 bigs rather than 8. So now King 3 suited, probably going to be a fold in this situation. And it just sort of compounds on itself. A small misstep there, rare misstep, I would say, from Kowalski. Not recognizing the strength of Spades' opening range and what a, you know, propitious situation he created for I'm the Nuts.
What do I hear?
Oh no. We've got a disco.
Crazy Lissy. Not a timing balance happening here. A legitimate connection issue. Crazy Lissy with the crazy disco.
Yeah, and this is right on the line. I feel like it's a fold, you know, but I could be wrong about that. I think it's just a situation where it is, by the way, a very, very big ante out there, right? But I think on a final, you know, switching places with I'm the Nuts also makes you very hamstrung, right? You go behind Spades and Z Justin. And for that reason, you become very restricted in what you can open, what you can rejam. It's a big, big problem. But Crazy Lissy, this is a genuine tank, right? We can see that Lissy feels this combo is right on the line. It's a very quick jam as well from Oliver, right? Which probably rules out aces, kings, and such like. Don't think they just snap, go all in. On the other hand, you know, it's unlikely to be the very bottom of the range where that he was, you know, he might have a decision between fold and shove or limp, and does lay it down. I like that fold, despite the fact we can see it's like the actual best hand by a pip.
Well, all we did was
And look at
delay
this
things by
comeback.
one hand, I think.
Wow. It's I'm the Nuts is going to bust. I guarantee you, Ace King wins here every time. It's like you fight, you cling on, you spin from tiny big blinds all the way back up to 1.6 million, and now you lose to Ace King. This is poker, guys. Do not become a professional poker player. Nothing but pain. Watch this. Probably
it's actually pretty painful as a
straight
non-pro
flush.
too, I'll just say.
I guarantee Crazy Lissy wins this.
The question is how Crazy Lissy responds to this raise. Decides to shove. Chris Oliver calls all in. We're going to flip that coin. 10 on the flop.
Jack.
Ace
Watch
on the
Jack
turn.
come.
No Jack on the river. Tens actually hold. And Chris Oliver is no longer the short stack at this final table. Chris Oliver now playing 3.5 million, and we are still seven-handed.
Well, I'm just saying, look what happens when Sam Grafton wishes you a bit of luck. I said, wish him a little bit of good luck. Chris Oliver, if you're watching, by the way, you owe me here. I called the ace-6, a little bit of luck, because he's had a bad time of it, and here we are, 3.2 million later.
Stop trying to make yourself out like some savant. Mr. Tens are going to lose here to ace-king less than 60 seconds ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was the same as a disconnection. That was a glitch, a little glitch in the matrix. Something went just a little bit wrong.
The Grafton glitch.
A little bit wrong. Yeah, and so things are changing here really, really quickly. I mean, I'm the nuts now up to third in chips, and very, we've talked about this before, but Lissy, Amadi, Space, Z Justin, all jostling with the same stack, and it's very, very tough because big ante, big blinds, very hard to open off any of these stacks, get any steals through. And so, a little bit of card distribution probably going to come into it. Who can find the hands?
See Justin at the bottom now. Not the first time for him. Started off, I believe, at the bottom today, and has made it this far. Granted, we haven't come a real long way since where we started today. I mean, we've only lost a little over half the field.
KZ here shoving on the two short stacks in the blinds, and that is a call from Space. Domination Nation. And this ace is good, and that will be the double up for Space to 4 million. A little bit of a dent in KZHH's stack. Still has the dominant chip lead, though. And Z Justin now at the bottom of the pack by a significant margin, well, around 500,000.
Yeah, and let's give some credit to Space. Obviously, we've spoken about them having a little bit of a tighter approach to this final. We don't know their background, but we can surmise that this is a particularly big spot for someone we haven't sort of seen play this kind of stakes buy-ins before. And, that's not an exciting call to make with the offsuit ace. Obviously, worked out incredibly well in this instance and rewarded for their patient approach, Got unlucky with the kings against a6.
Well, I tell you what, Sam, I am loving these battles between the two big stacks of the table, and I know that the short stacks also love these battles between the two big stacks at the table.
Yeah, I mean, both players being a little bit cautious. The ace-6 checking behind, having a hand that you obviously can't go 3 streets with, sort of protects their range. And Kowalski, I mean, look at this sizing. Really, really hurts Kowalski's actual hand, which is forced to continue.
And doesn't improve on the river. So KZ with a lock on this. 2.15 million in the middle. Kowalski first to act.
And Kowalski just considering, I don't know. I don't think you can lead this card, but I think he recognizes, like, he doesn't show down here. Wow, look at this from Kowalski.
Oh! Wow. I did not expect that outcome. And now Kowalski and KZ are pretty much tied for the chip lead, and Kowalski has the Grafton 10-9 suited.
Yeah, and we'll probably just shove here. Yeah, I mean, a little bit illegal from Kowalski in terms of pure theory, right? If I wanted to be the theory police. But, these subtleties are the reason that someone like Kowalski does so well in these fields. Senses that even when the queen is the best hand there, that they're going to get bluffed. And so puts out a little bet on the river and gets the superior hand to fold.
A little bit illegal. Bets 240,000 here. I'm Nuts actually flop best, pairing his 3. And now improves to 2 pair on the turn.
Yeah, and
yeah, Rosero makes a good point, Joe. Back in the days of the big game, you had the poker police. Now we've got the theory police.
In theory, this is a little bit illegal.
You're
yeah,
under
I mean, it's. And look at this from I'm the Nuts. So cautious of getting check raised on a board where they don't have any really, really strong hands, or they feel they don't. Checks back. And Kowalski. A lot of different discipline, by the way, from Kowalski. See King Queen board really, really good for the limper. Well, so a bit less so in this when you're covering, but still. And I'm the Nuts betting for value.
And Kowalski will fold. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, 2 exciting developments. Number 1, we're bringing out the quad box. And the reason for that is because we are bringing the band back together.
Wrong way, Griff.
Griffin Fencher.
Hello, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, Sammy. Good, man. Been watching you doing the commentating here. You're looking good. Like the stash, real nice. Real leaning into that. Instagram posts everywhere. You're doing great, pal.
Thanks, brother. Thanks. It's good to see you. Good to see you.
So, Griffin, we just got an all in here from Chris Oliver, but you missed a very exciting development during the last 20 minutes as Kowalski throws some poo and folds. It was Joe's suggestion, and we've decided to implement it as a strategy for the next online series. We are all going to go to Brazil, and we are all going to stream from Sam's apartment. And he has agreed, although he hasn't actually, that we are basically all just going to hang out in his place for a few weeks.
As long as I get to pick which books are in the background of my shot, you know.
I'm just saying that I lived with Griffin before, and we had to have an amicable divorce after a couple of weeks.
We've already broken up. There was a laundry
right down the middle of the jar of peanut butter.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a night after without revealing too much. There was a night after Griff had been out for the evening where he came into my bedroom in his tighty whities at 3 a.m. and that was it. It was too much for me. It was.
See, you didn't take the way privilege.
The way
I cannot
Griffin
confirm or
tells the
deny
story.
that this happened.
The way Griffin tells the story is about how he would get up early and go out and buy you the Guardian newspaper, which he knew you wanted to read so badly.
That's true. I never found it, actually. I looked for it, James, but I never found it.
No.
See, that counts.
Justin Bonomo with the Snowmens.
Sam, lost in the shuffle of all this banter, was I'm the Nuts shoving that 10-8 offsuit into the 2 big kings in the blind, getting 2 folds. So real good ICM pressure. Neither short stack wanting to be the first one out.
Exactly. Like Z Justin, Crazy Listy, and Amadi all sort of scrambling to stay afloat. And Crazy Listy, I think we have to fold this King Queen. Yeah, there is a King Jack suited, which we dominate. That Z Justin, maybe a King 10 suited also. But there's just, I think that Z Justin plays the Ace King, Ace Queen exactly the same way, and that's a lot of combos. You also don't even want to be flipping. If you're all in here, who makes the money? Marty makes a lot of money. Space makes a lot of money. So just a pit.
Do we see a King Jack off shove here from Justin seven-handed?
We have seen a King Jack off shove from Justin. Wasn't exactly under the gun, but it was pretty early.
It was suited. It was under the gun too, and I watched that hand. I'm pretty sure it's clubs, right? It's a difference.
Look at this.
Clubs.
Yes.
Ace Queen, Ace King, pocket nines. How's this going to play out? Kowalski is open to 320k. We are at the 80, 160 blind level now. It's Adrian Mateos with Ace King suited.
Yeah, KZHH going to get out the way.
Is it a snap call from Kowalski? Not thrilled about it's a pretty strong range here, but probably a bit too big with Ace Queen suited, Sam.
I mean, I think that you have to call this when Kowalski's going to be opening this wide. But
Yeah.
Look at this Kowalski one. Like you say, feels this is right on the line. It's just a little bit more than you feel comfortable calling off. I think against Amadi, we have to make a really, really tough call, even though I can see it's ace-king. But let's play results for a minute. If Kowalski can get away from this, it would, it's very, very meaningful in terms of money and EV for the Brazilian superstar.
Sam, when you call here, what are you realistically hoping to see?
Well,
Ace-jack suited, I think Amadi puts in.
That seems very optimistic if that's the one thing you're hoping for.
Maybe ace-jack off as well. Kowalski, like Sam mentioned, is going to be opening pretty wide in that particular position, I think. Having one of the chip leads and getting a lot of tight folds behind.
Exactly. Also,
I ain't seen anybody make a move with ace-jack, suited or otherwise.
Joe Stapleton, they always have it.
Right on the line for your girlfriend's poker idol, Crazy Lissy, but goes for it, and it's going to work out with the ace-3 of clubs.
Yeah, and this final table, very delicately balanced, right? One confrontation here or there. We should just dwell for a moment. Kowalski won against Amadi's actual hand, making a brilliant fold. But, at some point, there's going to be a confrontation, right? There's going to be a pocket jacks versus ace-king, and something's going to, these are big, big swings, with everyone battling super, super hard for the chips in the middle.
Based on play, Sam, what have you deduced about space 411? You were talking earlier about how it's the only player you're unfamiliar with. Do you reckon it's a strong player or more of like an amateur that, put the money together? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a slightly less experienced player. Obviously, it's very, very good to play a tight strategy on a big final table anyway. Just, I think these guys as well have a sense that Spades is opening very, very cautiously and proceeding very, very cautiously, as they should do. I just imagine that most high-stakes players, I know their screen names by now. It's possible that they have a different background, that they're a cash game player or something like that, but seem to me to be perhaps a bit more on the amateur side, but could be doing them a disservice. We'll find out more as we get more and more short-handed. Space, obviously delighted to turn that ace, and you see, he doesn't even consider a value bet.
Yeah, on the turn or the river.
It checks like that is what you're factoring into your summation, that they're slightly less experienced.
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
I think so. I think so.
I would have checked.
Well, I mean, you got to break down the action of the hand, right, Joe? It was like a min raise pre-flop, a minimum bet on the flop of queen, king, 8, turn ace. You decide to check back, which fine. I think some people will bet there, but at that stage on the river, you're going to anticipate you're going to anticipate your opponent, having a lot of king X's. They might call a small bet or something like that, or you got to try to get some value. Maybe ace 10 would call the flop and call river. So.
Well, Bonomo all in with ace king, doesn't get any action. Next hand. And we have got ace jack on the button for Crazy Lissy, who is officially the shortest stack right now.
And this is a pretty tough break here for Amadi. Might be a bit too strong to fold to the, 11-ish big blind button shove of Crazy Lissy.
Yeah, it's not only that there's some aces you dominate, but also some 9x as well. And actually the demi shove is quite nice because you could potentially call fold. I don't know. Probably we'll just put it in.
Yeah. Domination Nation. And the rotation 2-pair for Mateos and improves to a full house on the river. And that will see Crazy Lissy dispatched in 7th place. We are now 6-handed at the final table of this 25K super high roller. Crazy Lissy cashing out for $142,000. That's 7th place finish. And Adrian Mateos with more chips. 5.1 million now.
Sam, your girlfriend.
GG to our queen. Yeah, I know. Crazy Lissy, the best female online poker player in Russia.
So now
And
Bonomo
Amadi,
is at the bottom of the
0-17.
leaderboard.
Back in the hunt, Adrian Mateus adding to wanting another trophy for the mantelpiece. It's pretty crowded on that mantelpiece right now, but maybe another
Yeah,
one.
it's the one guy really you don't want to see running good, because it can just be an avalanche of aggression and good decisions. Amadi is just such a legend.
So this is going to be a 10 big blind shove, I guess, from Justin.
Ooh.
Question, King 9, call or fold?
Call Kowalski or call against Z Justin. I think.
Yeah.
I think we call the King 9 here. We're
It
playing
feels
again.
obvious, but
Kowalski's
King
playing a
9's
lot closer
behind
to
here,
chips.
Kowalski's already made a big
This is-
fold in this rotation. And in this situation, odds are going to be ahead more often than the ace-queen
Calls and pairs
situation
is-
earlier.
King is 9.
I'm the cranker, boys.
Kowalski takes out Justin Bonomo. Z Justin cashing for $183,593 for that 6th place finish. In for 3 bullets, in for 75K, but still makes a 6-figure profit in this super high roller, which is now down
Nothing
to
wrong
the
with that.
final 5.
Nothing.
GG.
3 bullets is fine.
Justin Z Stallion.
And
Griffin,
Kowalski
the
is retaking
lubrication
chip lead.
that this final table needed, haven't
Yeah.
you, Griff? Since
Yeah,
you turned
yeah, I
up,
am.
it's all the action. It's just
I'm
like
just going to say, I do think that Griffin the Unicorn Venger is more charming and more playful than Griffin the Lube Venger.
You know, unicorns
how
often
about the
are the
lubricated
lubrication in
unicorn?
many other social situations, so
How
it kind of
about
all
the
tracks.
lubricated unicorn?
Yeah.
why do you call him the unicorn? Dare I ask?
Oh, I just James loves to tell the story.
Do you know what? I actually can't remember the genesis. I think it's the fact that Griffin was like, I'm already a mythical animal, so I don't need any kind of ridiculous nickname. So we gave
And
him a
then they ran
ridiculous
with it.
nickname of another mythical animal.
Yeah, yeah, and then they
me-
made me
one of
put
my,
on.
Go on, Griff.
Sam, go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say they sent me like an actual, Amazon horn, and I had to wear it on the stream at some point. It's just, I have no shame, you know.
Me and one of my friends, he suggested that we have nicknames for all the different buy-ins, and that if we started using them, other people would. So we're going to call like a 25K a dragon, like call it the dragon freeze out, and like the 50K would be like the unicorn. I'm playing like I'm in, or if you're in for 50K, because obviously in England we have a lot of those. Like if you're in for 300, it's a carpet. If you're in for a 1K, it's a bag. A 50 is a bullseye. So we wanted to like create our own for like 50K. See, I'm down a unicorn in this tourney or whatever.
Sam, why are you not making this
No.
happen? Why is this not a thing already? Why have you failed?
Yeah, I know. Dragon freeze out, I think, is brilliant. By the way,
I mean,
I
there's
like the
already
dragon.
names
What was
for
that?
those.
The 100K was the dragon, or
There's
Yeah.
already names for
Wow.
those denomination of chips, right? Like, isn't a 5K chip as a flag and a 25K chip as a pancake? So why wouldn't you call a 25K
okay.
a pancake?
Because it's a really
I
shite
didn't know
name
that-
for a poker tournament.
Well,
A
it's been around for a
dragon
long
is
time.
really exciting. You can't call
I don't know.
a
Dragon
super high
sounds
roller
thinly
event.
racist to me.
And the dragon's a mythical creature. There's nothing racist about it at all. A pancake is a flat name, literally, for a 25K super high roller.
yeah, for sure. The PokerStars marketing department are vetoing that straight away. If you turn up, the genius people we've got in our marketing department, if you turn up and say we want to call this the pancake, they're just not going for that, are they? You know?
I mean, I
What are you
think
gonna call the
pancake makes a
10K?
lot of
The
sense
omelet?
because if you eat 3 of them, you're going to be really sick.
Nice. There we go. Joe Stapleton. The brain, it only takes a while for the cog. It's like he's got the word and he just riffs off it. I love to watch it, Joe. Honestly, I love it.
Unfortunately, I can only afford the low buy-in version, the $22, which
The
is
silver
the croissant.
dollar. A small pancake is called a silver dollar.
it's pronounced croissant.
Griffin, as a resident of Montreal, you should know better.
Montreal, different class.
I can only imagine. Griffin's on the street of Montreal, says Croissant. He just ends up a hate crime. Get the American. No, wait, I swear. I'm from Toronto.
These guys have landed up 100K in the time that we've been bantering, by the way. Literally 100K, 100. Amadi's made this is like how I feel Amadi is. Basically, my poker life is just bantering around while yeah, he's a dragon. He's made a dragon.
20 flags?
Double dragon.
20 freaking flags.
That's funny. That's funny. On the nuts, proceeding cautiously, probably going to go for a little bit of, it doesn't. And you see how cautiously people play against covering stacks. Doesn't even put out a little tickler on the river.
Oh, I do love a good tickler.
Raised. Kowalski covering. Will open the Queen 7 suited. Just as a little bit of a recall, Joe Stapleton, this is what I'm talking about. Just Kowalski just playing essentially for chips in terms of openings. I'm the nuts, forced to play tighter than chips. You just imagine your normal opening ranges as the baseline and then just think about, okay, in this spot, do I have to play tighter?
It's not purely, I mean, obviously the chip leader is the safest person to say that about, but it's not only the chip leader, right? Like KZHH could also play for chips.
Yeah, because Kowalski can't just barrel off here and put crazy pressure on KZHH. If there's an all-in confrontation, Kowalski is very
here we go.
From KZ.
What an example.
There we go.
What timing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, KZHH. Yeah, it's just a product of the risk premium.
I only subscribe to regular risk, not risk premium.
And that's why you get the commercials.
One of the only premium channels you don't have.
I gotta watch. Yeah, I gotta watch all the adverts.
Yeah, you gotta watch the ads.
Regular risk.
The blinds are going up in 2 minutes to 100,000, 200,000, and this is going to get a whole lot shallower very soon. And King High still ahead.
Yeah, and KZHH gonna look to take this down. Let's give a little bit of credit to Space, by the way, who, if, as we suspect, you know, is a little less used to these nosebleed stakes, you know, to be now fifth, have locked up nearly $250,000 and still very much in the hunt for the bigger payday. And that's quite an achievement, right? Really, really remarkable. Certainly, I imagine will be by far and away their biggest score online. And, you know, I think it's pretty smart. If you know, it's a sort of lesson. If for some reason you are an amateur player, you find yourself at a table where you are a little bit outmatched in terms of experience and, you know, skill, why not just take it tranquilo, play tight, and, you know, make the money that way.
Well, we've got the sweat card here on the turn. Now with the nut flush draw, Kowalski betting 320,000. Chris Oliver, I'm the nuts. Still ahead for now with nines.
But you're not thrilled about facing this bet. Can think you're sort of good enough at the time against hands like this, though. You're going to continue, but going to be, you know, not so easy to call on the river. You have those 2 9s which block some straight draws like Queen 9, 8 9. You have the 9 of diamonds too, but got away with it and is up to 5 million. So good for Mr. Oliver.
Absolutely.
I was saying earlier, Griff,
back there.
What a legend Chris Oliver was in our era, in your era.
Oh yeah,
you know, you must have battled with him a lot back in the day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Spent a little time with him too. Real funny guy, cartoon character. Swag was the right way to put it.
Oh, okay. We'll look at this conversation. But I remember when I first went to the World Series, and he'd be in the corridor shouting "huss huss" all the time, and like,
Yeah.
you know, like that was their little saying. You used to see it in the chat always,
Yeah.
"Huss" with Lab Rat and Big Hooney, Telks, maybe all those kind of boys out of Costa Rica.
So
Pura
KZ
vida.
opening here stays all in and no calls. So yeah, we are now at the 100,000, 200,000 blind level. And yeah, you're right to allude to the fact, Sam, that the next player out is going to get close to $250,000. The runner-up more than $500,000, 657K up top. Ridiculous sums of money now for the final five.
Yeah.
We're pretty shallow here in general too, right? Like this is pretty whack.
No, absolutely. It's kind of feel like we need a couple more bust outs in the next level.
Good pressure from KZH there. Just a nice little 3x with the 6-4 suited, facing that Amadi limp, knowing that Amadi's going to, you know, not try to get out of line with those 26 big blinds. You know, wants to try to make sure that he gets into that top 3 slot. That looks like another 150 grand, 160 grand. So these kind of prize pools don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
So open-ended for Kowalski. Ace high still ahead for Adrian Mateos, who bets just over 250K.
Yeah.
What do you think? Raise or call?
Straight
I
draws
mean,
for
I
most
think when
players now.
Amadi, if you know Amadi's using the strategy where Ace 10, very, very medium strength hand, by the way. So it seems like he's just c-betting the board 100%, then probably want to check raise. I think is nice. Got the diamond as well, blocking some of the continues. The 9 blocks the backdoor flush draw continue. You know, I could be wrong. And now Amadi bluffing with the best hand, putting the pressure back on Kowalski.
Yeah, and the jack is now a no good out for Kowalski, down to 16% equity, and makes the fold.
Yeah.
And guys, we're going to play it one last time. Because one half of the duo is leaving us. Sam, thank you so much for your analysis. I really appreciate you jumping in after your final table appearance this evening. We will catch you again on the stream very soon.
See you guys. Pleasure. Have a good evening.
Don't be a stranger, Sam.
Turns out white men can jump off the stream.
I do love the idea, by the way, of us just all showing up in Brazil and just doing the entire broadcast from Sam's apartment. I think there are probably more cons than pros, but the pros are funny enough to make me want to do it.
Absolutely. I don't get enough Sam Grafton in my life. Like, the only time I get to talk to him these days is on stream, and obviously he's a hoot on a wide variety of subjects, not just online poker.
It's really hard to predict which way this is going to go, by the way, because it's really evening out now, and also it is so shallow.
Yeah, I almost feel like putting another tweet out there saying, like, hey, if you just want to watch people flip for hundreds of thousands of dollars, like, that's probably what's going to happen soon. But I also don't want to insult these players who, you know, it's probably, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of, you know, jabs from players like KZHH, Amadi, Kowalski, those bigger stacks. You know, they'll take one shot at another big stack, but not really going to sort of go to town on each other. So it is really going to depend on sort of card distribution, space playing as tight as they are, and then I think I'm the nuts, you know, very aware of how, you know, tight he needs to be playing. So this could go on for a while, despite the fact that we are getting sort of in that 20, 30, and I guess 40 in the case of KZHH range of blinds. This would be a nice spot for Oliver.
Yeah, opens with Jack 5, but with the 7s, Chris Oliver is going to shove. And that should bring this to a conclusion.
I sent the tweet anyway, even though Griffin just explained why we're probably not going to see just flipping for hundreds of thousands. It's a little clickbaity, but whatever. Let's get everybody in here for this.
Oh, it always comes, Joe. It always comes.
People are going to be winning.
You know. But I think we'll be hard pressed to find any big sort of ego battles. You know, we're just playing for such astronomical amounts of money. I don't think that, you know, anyone's going to go down swinging recklessly.
Well, KZHH says never give up. So there you have it.
Nice.
And once again, we have a domination rotation situation. Pair of 6s for Adrian Mateos.
And quite an interesting blind-on-blind dynamic we've seen between Amadi and KZHH. I mentioned before the 6-high raise in position pre-flop. There was another hand previously where KZHH actually value bet like a very weak 2-pair on sort of like an ace, queen, 2 board with the deuce 5, getting a fold out of king 3 from Amadi. So really some interesting, intricate play. You got to wonder once they see what's been on the stream and how they're playing certain hounds, how that's going to affect, you know, this dynamic, because these two are really, really strong players.
Well, KZ picked up the straight draw on the turn, did not improve on the river. This is Adrian Mateos' pot, unless KZHH bluffs this river.
Yeah, I still think it's Amadi's pot. Oh, over
660.
This would be a heck of a hero call.
Well, if anyone can make this call, it's Adrian Mateos, but I would not blame him for folding here.
Nah. I didn't know you could bet more than the pot.
Whatever happens, this will be the last hand of the session. And Mateos eating into that time bank. And then makes the fold, and that is going to take us to the break. A 5-minute hiatus in the action from this 25K super high roller. But we're going to move across the PokerStars arena and show you some action from earlier in the medium version of event 34. So, during the last session in that event, here are some selected hands from Patrick Leonard's table, Pads, who has won 2 Wcoop titles this series already, going for his 3rd. There are 13 players remaining as we follow the action here.
Thank you, Sonic.
Not a small field, 614 players. Really impressive from Pads.
Yeah, and some other players you might recognize this table. Arseny Kamatsky, an EPT champion, plays as Josef Shvek. And of course, Daniel Smilkovic, Smil the hero. And just for everyone's information, Lex Feldhaus and Kowalski 1 are at the other table. So again, just to recap, Fabiano Kowalski, deep in both the medium and high versions of event 34.
And 2 pair here. I'd love to see some older folks playing the game of poker. It's good. You know, we'd think of it as a young man's game, but obviously having a player like Alex in here, welcome.
Because as you know, on PokerStars, it is compulsory that you have a picture of yourself in your current state as your avatar.
Yeah, I assume. Yeah, mostly. I mean, look, obviously, sometimes, you know, nobody's a cartoon, but these people are generally pretty honest with who they're repping.
What do you think Smile the Hero's avatar is?
Where's oh, I don't know. How did they change mid-tournament? They had the wacky cat.
Really?
Joker cat. Now it's a sinky. Oh, it's the Titanic.
No, that's Centaurus.
Oh
You're confusing 2 different players.
Sorry, I always have a hard time
Centaurus
finding
has the Titanic?
Centaurus.
I don't.
So with Zyxel opening here, Pads has a decision with ace-4 suited and decides to commit.
Ruh-roh. Small chance of a tight fold. Position-wise, I mean, this is... 8's probably a bit too strong. Yeah, gonna go for it. And Pads gonna take some pause, see about that. I assume a pay jump at 12 left. But we'll be committing the other 34,866 chips. Within the next 17 seconds.
Patrick Leonard calls it off, and here we go. Ace on the turn, but the ace on the river, and that will see Patrick Leonard KO'd in 13th place, cashing for $12,626. So down to 12. This the medium event. This some action from the last session while we were watching the super high roller, and we will go back to the 25K as soon as action resumes. Another chance to see that little dog, because Fabiano Kowalski, who's just been moved to this table, is still going strong in the super high roller tonight.
And yeah, what a brilliant day it could end up becoming for Kowalski. Final 5 of the 25K and final 12 of the 2K. That's kind of what you do when you load up those two, you know, probably the biggest tournament buy-ins of the day, and you're just in there in both of them. It's great.
Well, this is playing down to a final table tonight. We will stream the final table of that tomorrow. But right now, we are going back to the 25K, the super high roller. It's the biggest buy-in MTT on the Wcoop 2021 schedule, and 5 players remain. Guys, we keep alluding to it, but this is really shallow right now. 29 big blind average, and the chip leader only has 42 big blinds. We've still got some talented players in the hunt, including Adrian Mateos, Fabiano Kowalski, and Chris Oliver. And we're going to head back to the final table as we allow Mr. Stapleton to take his second hot dog break of the evening. Griffin and I are going to call the action as we continue to play down to a champion. With a huge first prize on the line. Huge prizes for all of the final 5. That's what you get in a super high roller.
Amadi, 5.7 million chips. If some of you aren't familiar with who Amadi is, well, has quite the resume. Maybe one of the biggest resumes in the world.
We rattled off the stats earlier on, Griffin, and it still amazes me because he's still a young guy, right? 4 Wcoops, 5 scoops, 3 World Series of Poker bracelets, plus an EPT Grand Final win. His Wcoop wins came in 2018, 2019, 2 titles last year, and going for his first of the 2021 series this evening.
Yeah, it just seems like the guy has bucket lists for every poker tournament out there and finds a way to win them. I mean, you know, sealing the a win here in the 25K would be just absolutely remarkable.
Didn't you tell a story before that after he won that EPT in Monte Carlo that you contacted him? Didn't you say like, "Hi, I'm Griffin Bender. I'm kind of a somebody, and you know, I could be your friend"?
No, it was the World Series of Poker Europe. I watched the whole thing, and then I reached out to him afterwards, and I was like, I was really impressed with how you played. Yeah, because he was quite young, right? He was very young when he won that. You know, I think maybe as young as you can be to play that.
I think he was 18.
And then,
right.
Yeah, I think he was 18, and I just was like, okay, so this is. I really think this could be the new kid. And sometimes you see someone dominate a final table, whether it's an EPT or whatever it is, and you think, wow, this guy's going to be could be really good. But you know, just you realize maybe it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. Maybe it was about kind of other players on the table, but there was something special about the way that his table presence just really mature for his age and didn't falter to the moment. And I mean, I didn't expect this, but you know, I definitely saw something.
So I'm going to give you a real-time update from the medium because they are on the final table bubble. One more elimination and play will conclude for the night and resume tomorrow. And right now it is Lexington Veldhouse who is the shortest stack with 10 players remaining.
And I think I saw a tweet of Lex saying he was having a rough start to the Wcoop, and we were talking about the new baby run good, so maybe it'll come with a nice comeback in this this 2K.
Yeah, he's had some deep runs, but we know that most of the money's in those top 2 or 3 positions. You've got to be making final tables and high finishes, podium finishes at final tables to really offset the sheer number of buy-ins you end up firing during a major series like this.
Preach. Ace King offsuit in the big blind for I'm to Nuts. And you have to imagine that we're going to see a lot of cutoff action, James, from KZHH in this particular spot. Space showing themselves to be quite tight on the button at this big $25,000 final table. So I'm to Nuts is going to gain some chips there and get back to near 5 million.
I do love, by the way, that people immediately betray their age when they see you on stream. Obviously, you've got the people who will make the tired, overused check your privilege jokes, and then you'll have someone at Bridge to Pain. Griffin, Shaguar, legend himself. The old school, the old guard who remember you from the other game.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Bridge to Pain. Day one, you're a real one. I find, James, it's interesting when I see old Counter-Strike fans, because it makes me realize how important it is to document things, record things, because that was the thing. That was the beginning of making kind of these highlight videos, and I would make them with my I met an editor, and I would direct him and all this sort of stuff to make these videos, and that's sort of how they live on, and on YouTube and stuff like that. I think that's why it has so much longevity. What I'm saying is, James, 20 years from now, you and I are going to be legends with all our catchphrases. Everyone's going to be talking about your domination rotations and all that stuff when you've moved on, whatever the next thing is in your life. You're going to get those domination rotation tweets at you.
I still think the moments of you shouting, whether it's "What up now, Swedes" or "Check your privilege," will probably live on a lot longer. Because those are in the moment, right? Those are actual moments in the game rather than...
So we got to find your big viral moment. When are you just going to nail every rotation of domination,
I need to take tips from you, Mr. Multiple Viral Moments.
Yeah, that's true. How do I NFT those things? I'm sure it's wrapped into ESPN, and I can't imagine.
But you own the rights to any of that, buddy.
Yeah. So Kowalski with a hand that suitable to shove, I think, against the range pre-flop of KZHH. But, you have just over 20 big blinds. You have the same amount of chips as I'm to Nuts. Space is under you as well. Just keep the worst hands in there. And that's what we're seeing right here is 9-10, perfectly dominated. You get that perfectly dominating flop. I could see a raise. Yeah, I think this comes from the place of Kowalski recognizing that, thought that he had the best hand pre-flop. Didn't want to risk it with the shove necessarily. And now things are going to get really interesting with an SPR of just 1-1.
Yeah, and a diamond on the turn. Kowalski may not realize it, but 96% favorite.
Yeah, it's so much easier from the booth, James, to look at it and be like, oh, this is what he should be thinking because we know what he has. But, KZHH could have 6-7 of diamonds there, right? Would c-bet the flop, would just call the raise, probably wouldn't want to shove it in with 7 high. Would have gotten snapped by ace-9 had they done that with a hand like that. So you're not thrilled to see that diamond, but Kowalski very happy to take down that pot. You don't want to get snapped there, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I miss local lands, says F. Hill Collins. Did you ever go to like some land cafes, James, and anything like that? Gaming or
No.
otherwise? No, I guess not. That it's maybe not been an overlap. Yeah. Oh, and look, when we're educating the Dime 0815 saying, I had no clue Griffin was the What Up Now Swedes guy. That's me. I actually did it at the end of one of the streams on here when I think a Swede was either won or was knocked out in second, and I gave a little shout.
Well, this is still advantage KZHH. 512,000, so half pot bet called by Chris Oliver. KZ pulling away again, up to nearly 9 million.
Not a believer. I don't really fault I'm to nuts. You know, when we see the board, we think you're losing to so many things. How can you call? But we've seen how active and how aggressive KZHH has been able to be. Because once Amadi folds his hand, you just have to get through, you know, a quite tight space. And these sort of stacks that need to be a little, so opening quite wide, Jack 9 off, 9-10 off.
Korean Bussy asking how big was the player field? You'll see it, top left-hand corner, 116 started, 5 remain. That 116, by the way, that is 81 unique players with 35 re-entries. Prize pool of $3 million as per the guarantee. And next player out is going to get close to $250,000 with more than 650K up top. And this is advantage Mateos.
And very unlucky for Kowalski, electing to go with a more passive check back on the flop. You're up against such a hand that you dominate so much in Queen 9 without a hearts. You have Ace 9, Ace of Hearts, and the turn is just a queen, but disciplined fold facing the bet.
Yeah.
And now Amadi has closed the gap a little bit with KZHH, but doesn't need to get all protecty with something like Ace-8. Plays much nicer as just a limp call, which we're going to see. Interesting to see KZHH ISO that King Deuce, James, still wanting to keep that dynamic established that, like, listen, I'm still the chip leader. I still have control. I'm not just going to start checking back here. I still raise, because King Deuce is not one you want to, you know, you're thrilled to play as a raise. Going to be facing a lot of better kings that limp call. And as you can see, this pot getting quite big. It will actually flip things around if Amadi can get to the river and get to a showdown, as long as the river's not a king.
I mean, the reality is, Griffin, when we get to the turn now, get to the river, all the pots are going to be big simply because the players just aren't that deep stacks. If they're playing through the streets, every single pot is going to result in a significant swing.
And look at this, James, a bet of 1.9 million. But Amadi is going to be so aware of how much pressure KZHH can put on him. And it's not just about this street, James. It's like, you know, you take a deep breath, you call pre-flop, take a deep breath, you call the flop. Turn, find the courage to call again. That doesn't mean KZHH isn't going to whack it in your face on the river. And that's why we see, you know, even one of the best players in the world getting stone cold bluffed in that spot. Wow. 10 million chips for KZ.
So Amadi on the button. Adrian Mateos, ace 9 of spades. KZ, by the way, back up over 10 million. While Mateos is hovering around the 6.2 million. Pretty much tied for second with Fabiano Kowalski. Space and Chris Oliver, I'm nuts, bringing up the rear, 3.4, 3.2 million respectively.
And we see now that KZ does have a line, and that line is 5-3 offsuit. Found pretty much a reason to raise every cutoff and button, but finally said, okay, you know, I just don't need every single hand. And this is just, it's such a great opportunity for KZHH. It's so rare, James, to be playing, you know, for over $650,000 and to have, you know, maybe someone that isn't a regular at that stake on your immediate left, trying to ladder. You need to find a lot of these spots to be aggressive, and KZHH has played, honestly, absolutely perfectly. We think about the hands, you know, against Amadi, just great.
Well, this is an interesting spot. Ace Queen and Kowalski with Ace Jack. So the raise is to 440,000. Blinds are going to be up in 5 minutes, by the way, to 125, 250.
I think this can't play as a shove here. It's a bit too many chips with 30 big blinds. You don't want to find yourself get coolered here, even though KZHH is opening so wide from these spots. You can't bust here. And that's a horrible turn card for Kowalski, because he's going to feel very, very good about that card. Going to expect to have the best ace almost always. You know, it'll never play as a check raise, which is nice. It's going to play as this, you know, it's his job to play this spot passively, because you can't find yourself all in unless you have the nuts. So Kowalski just going to find a check call. And because of that sizing, God, KZHH is just nailing this, James. It's just such good sizing. You know, you're sitting there, if you think Kowalski has something like ace jack, ace 10, you're just going to get all those chips.
And one thing we've seen, and assuming we get a decent value bet here from KZHH, one thing we've seen is that Kowalski tends to make tight, disciplined, most of the time correct folds on the river. So it'll be interesting to see, A, how much KZ goes for, and B, if Kowalski can get away from this. Near enough full pot, 2.8 into 3 million.
I appreciate the intention of this bet. You know, you want it to be polarizing. You want it to say either like, I have a bluff or I have a massive hand. But I just think that it's going to be so hard for Kowalski to call, because that's going to leave him with just 2 million and really be in last place, you know, pretty close to finishing in 5th. But I guess that's the intention too, right? That's the thing, being like, this is what I'd bet if I was bluffing, so here it is, and you get the max value if they find a call. I mean, whew. We saw a massive fold earlier with ace queen suited against Amadi's 16 big blind shove that Sam was very impressed by earlier. Seen some very smart folds. Wow.
Makes the laydown. KZ now
Very
up
nice.
to nearly 12 million. Space with ace queen. All in.
And I think this is just a great example of a poker player that's in the zone, James. We were talking about how, you know, there's only 9 or 10 people left in that 2K, and for all intents and purposes, unless I haven't heard otherwise, Kowalski is still in there as well. So someone that is just clicking the right buttons and, you know, even finding themselves in a spot where they should be getting coolered, and just only loses that one street, ace jack to ace queen, stays, you know, what, 50% more chips than I'm nuts and spades, finding a way to be in contention of that top 3 spot.
Well, KZ has paired their 9 here. King's way ahead. shoves the turn, gets a fold up to close to 5 million. So now it's I'm the Nuts who is very much at the bottom with 2.8 million.
Good to see Spade's willing to splosh around here. This is a pretty loose peel from the big blind. I think, you know, some very strong high stakes players will call in this spot, but also, you know, you don't really need to get involved, but willing to take a peel and flop a flush draw. And Kowalski gonna have to be pretty frozen with that river and just needs to hope that Space with the bottom of their range doesn't find a bet here. But I don't think that there's anything Space has shown us that they'd be willing to bluff here and doesn't go for it. And that might open the door for a bluff with the best hand scenario from Kowalski. Doesn't want to lose to something like, you know, 6-7 of spades or whatever, but
Yeah,
wins it with queen high. And that's the problem. Listen, if you're gonna, sorry, James, if you're gonna peel with those hands, you got to find some bluffs sometimes. We couldn't find it there.
yeah. 125, 250. Blinds are up. Remember, 25-minute blind levels until the conclusion of this super high roller. And I'm the Nuts, close to 10 bigs now. And everyone else around the 20 big blind mark continues to play shallow. So it is a jack high flop. It's top pair for Kowalski, ace high for Adrian Mateos.
I think it's important to note that Chris I'm the Nuts Oliver has been very, very card dead for the last rotation or so. Someone who is not afraid to make some moves. And I think we're going to see a much more active version of I'm Nuts in this level. I think going to be well aware, especially, you know, if he's watching the 30-minute delay broadcast, of how active KZHH has been, and still has some fold equity with that, you know, 12 big blinds where, you know, KZHH can raise those queen 9, jack 9, you know, ace 3 type hands and fold to the shoves of I'm the Nuts. So wouldn't be surprised if we see either an all-in from Chris, that an all-in clash, or sort of gaining some chips up to 4.5 million through some reshoves.
Adrian Mateos consolidating his second place position.
And
Jack 9, Queen 10.
Could be it. I think Jack 9 probably a bit too strong on 11 bigs not to shove, and I'm not sitting there with Queen 10 suited. Might just have to go for this. It's a bit too strong, plays a bit too well against the shoving range. So here we go. Boom.
And makes a straight. And that is going to be a double up for Chris Oliver. And that puts Fabiano Kowalski in the danger zone.
And you can see how wide KZ willing to open, especially with this extra pressure now that Kowalski only has 1.9 million. No real incentive for, you know, I'm the Nuts and Amadi to battle back against KZ right now.
Pocket 9s for Kowalski. However, going to run into the 10s of KZHH. And this is another domination situation.
Someone put the tea kettle on for Kowalski.
Yeah. Fabiano making a committing raise. Put all in by KZ. Calls it off. Looking for a 9. He's hit on the river. Doesn't. And Kowalski 1 is KO'd. Fabiano Kowalski eliminated in 5th place. Cashes for nearly $250,000, $236,958. Worth reiterating that Kowalski won is still going strong in the medium version of Event 34. That is the 2K. However, KZHH gets the better of him, and KZ now with 13 million chips.
Yeah, it's really the KZHH show on this final table. But I will say that if we, were to do a super cut of maybe the 5 most impressive hands over the course of this final table, Kowalski, despite only finishing 5th, would find himself on there, more than once. That huge fold with the ace jack, the big fold with the ace queen suited. We've seen some nice plays as, whoa.
This hand needs to be clipped. This is the evidence that Joe Stapleton needs to prove that blockers are not real. Queen 4 versus Queen 4 with a Queen 4 deuce flop. And I think we know where this is going. Diamond, diamond. No. This is going to end in a chop.
And you know what they say? Oh, wait, we're early. And I'm not supposed to say, what am I doing?
Wait. Don't Maria it.
Is she famous for mucking it up?
I think we're too hard on her, but her performance is different. And here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a chop pot. And you know what they say?
Everyone loves a chop pot.
Griffin, I think we may have achieved perfection.
What? Yeah, right. That was good. I just heard it on the thing. Wow, we found it.
Boom.
You know what we should do the next time that that's the second time in a row that you and I have gone, like, we're getting straight 10s out there. A couple 8.5s, there's some tough critics out there. But in general, that's, that was some of the best. But both times it's just been me and you. I'm not saying we need to get rid of Joe. He's an integral part of the team. But maybe the next time there's a chop pot and it's the 3 of us on there, we can just tell him, maybe just go grab a beer, just sit this one out, get a hot dog, like if we see a Queen 4 situation developing, I'm just suggesting
Griffin.
Yeah.
I hear where you're coming from. I hear your argument. Joe does not need any encouragement to go and get a hot dog. Too much sausage is going to make him expand.
Okay, speaking of sausage, Spades has a flush here. Failed to see the connection, but it's a big, it's a big situation for Spades. And this is tough. Yeah, this doesn't matter. You're right, James. This is really tough and would need a really big fold. I mean, KZHH, just find it. You don't want to double them up. What a fold!
Holds it.
Top pair.
Holds it. Well, just going to step away from the super high roll-up for 1 second. Just going to go across to an event we've referenced a few times. This is the medium version of event 34. Kowalski going deep. Lex Veldhouse going deep. And Lex all in here with 5s. Man. Kowalski calling with 8s. I am Ivar with ace queen suited.
I don't think you can... Well, you can't ever find a fold here from Ivar, but do you shove? Do you think, okay, Kowalski has something like this that will fold? And that's why you got to shove it in. And there, you're going to free roll the money. Look at that. A huge spot for Lex now. Oh! Sank.
Wow.
And an 8 would have been there. Oh, my gosh.
So Lex gets the triple up and avoids a horrible set over set confrontation with Kowalski. I can tell you that Lex is still in with 10 players remaining, 2 tables of 5 in that 2K 8 max event. A reminder, they play down to 9 tonight. We're streaming the final table tomorrow. Will Lex be in the final 9? We'll keep tabs on it.
They tried to get him, James. That PokerStars RNG tried to get him, but The shove from the ace queen gets the eights out of there. See, they come for us all, guys. Everyone runs bad from time to time, but sometimes the best hand's folded. It's the way of the game. And some opportunities here. Oh no, Space is gonna fold to that. It's such a big bet. Come on, you have the wheel too. You can't fold. Space, no. Oh no. Oh yes. Oh, it's not a chop. Oh,
No, this is not a
so
chop.
good, James. Any card over a 7 would have been a chop. Wow. So max value from KCH back up to 13 million after losing that king 8 pot. Whew. I'm the nuts with the deuce 5 suited for just a little chip flick in. You know, I think 4-5 suited. I'm the nuts with peel one off. 3-5 might right up be on the line. I think deuce 5 is going to be a little too whatever you want me to call it. Not good. Not good. And Spade's willing to open things up with the king 10. And I would be very curious to know what Amadi would have done had I'm the nuts not had this hand from the small blind. But we will never find out, as the 9's certainly happy to go in for the 20 bigs. Come on, Amadi, get a raise out there into Space's big blind, but can't find it. And this is because of the dynamics KZHH has established, willing to pressure Amadi. So Amadi can't even steal a poor big blind with a decent-sized king.
So how's this going to play out?
Raise.
Chris Oliver.
Got to find some spots to take advantage of the very rare spot you're in, which is 4 left. A prize pool right now of, what are we looking at? 800, 1.1, 1.8 million, $1.7 million with 4 people left. And if there is a mark at the table, James, if there is a spot, it is very clear that Space clearly knows, you know, how to play poker, probably plays a lot of it, probably has some success, but not a regular of the super mega high stakes. These are the best players in the world, the 116 best players in the world. And, you know, if you're limped blind on blind by this player that hasn't shown any, you know, inkling to be the kind of person that would limp strong or limp raise a big hand, you just got to isolate that jack 6 and hope to take it down. Ooh, very interesting hand here, James. Madi bluffing the turn with that picked up equity, but KZHH. With the flush draw. We've seen Amadi wave the white flag on the river before and does so again. You hate to see just the queen high, but can't even put it past KZHH. Maybe even capable of calling with that queen high based on the action. So you got to be careful. You don't want to end up firing a bluff there and find yourself in dead last. Talked about the deuce 5 suited being a fold. I think 5-8 suited, I'm Nuts is going to be willing to call, and does. Very interesting flop. A little equity for both. We got the 8 high flush draw for Chris Oliver. The 2 overs and a gut shot for Amadi. You could be hard pressed to see this play as a check raise from I'm Nuts. Way more likely as just a call with that little baby flush draw. Don't want to find a check raise there and then have to get it all in or fold. This gives more action too, James. Now we have an open-ended straight draw for I'm Nuts, a double gut shot for Amadi. Oh,
well,
and I would really, okay, fine. I know how much you love that one. I would love to see
it's also
a check
because it
here
is a significant card. It's not because it's an ace, it's because it's the diamond, and
I would love to see a check from I'm Nuts here. Try to induce Amadi to represent that ace and try to fold out those like 10s and 9s that I'm Nuts most likely has. I'm Nuts also going to have something like 7-8 you would hate to lose to. Maybe Jack 7 of spades would have called. Well, actually, he does have the Jack of spades, but so does get that 960, and that's going to make Amadi down to around 7 or 8 big blinds. And Amadi going to be disgusted facing that shove, knowing that Chris Oliver had made that flush. Amadi might get a walk here. Jack 3 is pretty blech, but he pops it in anyway, takes the momentum, runs with it.
it's quite incredible to think that Chris Oliver was so short and is now second in chips and has the graft in here. 10-9 of diamonds.
Don't you fold it.
He ain't folding.
KZHH could just make it 2 million here. It's just would just be so. Side balanced comments, queen 2 suited, fold, pog. Actually, I think it's what you're supposed to do here pre-flop, given Amadi's chip stack. I will say, though, I am now looking more closely at this flop and see we would have had a street flash situation.
Oh, did you say street flash?
Is there an animation? Oh my gosh. Wow, when did that come?
New for week 2 of Wcoop 2021.
Week 2. All in will be in 3, 2, 1. See what I did there? Perfectly timed. Give me some scores, guys. How was my timing on that all in? I think it was like a 7.
Well, we've got Jack 4 versus 5-4 here. So KZHH close to 16 million chips. Near enough a 2-1 lead over Chris Oliver. Poor old Adrian Mateos. Mateos in the hyper danger zone right now.
And again, a hand that's space should otherwise shove for, 11 big blinds, but what's the point? You don't want to shove and a guy call with pocket tens and then you're out in fourth when, Amadi's about to bust with 8 deuce.
Oh, the 3 on the river. And that will do it for Adrian Mateos. Amadi out in fourth place, cashing for $305,000 as KZHH chips up to 18 million now. And everyone now guaranteed the better part of 400K, $500,000 to the runner-up, more than 657K, and an ace-king versus ace-jack situation. Domination Nation in the chip leader's favor. All in and behind. Jack on the turn. And that is a double up for space. So three-handed at this 25K final table.
About $115,000 difference between second and third place. Whatever happens to I'm Nuts in the rest of this tournament, gonna want to make sure that he finishes in second or better. You don't want to, get into some crazy battles with KZHH. You want to slowly allow KZHH to chip down space, find your little spots, to maybe get some chips, ISOing against space when you get a button fold from KZHH, but from what we've seen, I don't think you can really anticipate many button folds in KZHH's future. And you can see how comfortable KZ is peeling almost 100% of range against the one of the weaker players in this field who has found themselves three-handed in this tournament. I don't think KZHH would be calling a min raise against Z Justin or Amadi with Jack 5 off. Ooh. Oh, and you're sitting there, you're hating this spot for I'm Nuts. You're just like, oh, I would love to see a flop with King Jack of Hearts, but not for all in against the tightest player.
No.
Not for 18 big blinds, James.
Well, I don't know, Griffin, if anyone has the little deal box tick right now, but with these money jumps and with the shallow nature of this tournament, deal is not beyond the realms of possibility.
I think it is pretty close to an impossibility with Space still in the tournament. All respect goes to what Space has done over the course of this tournament, but unless they're willing to give up a significant, KZHH is someone that, just based off the way they're playing even, is going to feel very much strongly about their edge in this three-handed battle. KZHH expects to win this tournament, and I'm Nuts is someone who will, he's been known to have some gamble in him. He's a bit like loopy like that. He's just like, let's go for it. Let's play. I think that if KZ and Chris Oliver get heads up, we could see some discussion of numbers. I think that KZ probably respects Chris Oliver, and Chris probably the same as KZ based off the play. But three-handed, I think they'll be hard-pressed to find a deal.
Fair enough. Well, Space opening here with ace-8, 7 deuce suited. And it's an ace-high flop. There's also an 8 on it. Space, a commanding favorite, bets 250,000.
Ooh.
5, 6, 7, 8.
And
Oh,
checks it
oh.
back. And the
Wow.
turns of 5.
Flops the straight, and now KZHH has improved to trips. Bets 448,000.
And this could drastically change the complexion of this three-handed 25K super high roller. And KZHH isn't thrilled by this raise. I don't think KZ necessarily thinks that a straight is within the realm of most probability, but maybe a better 5. I mean, I know there's all the 5s are gone. There's only 1 5 left, but at the same time, it's like, has Space shown any idea about doing these kind of like bluffs? I think they'll get a quick call, but you know, at least he didn't get all of it. Wow.
While Space moves into second place, just shy of 10 million chips, blinds up to 150,000, 300,000.
Yeah, about 26 big blinds for I'm to nuts. 44 KZ and about 32 for Space 411. A great stroke of luck there with that flop straight against the trips, blind on blind.
6-5 of diamonds against 4-3 of diamonds. KZ raising small to big.
If there's a 7 or deuce of diamonds on the board, I want the street flash. Boom! Come on. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. James, you got to give me street flash. Street flash.
I'm trying.
Street flash.
Nope.
I forget what the song is, but
Nope.
I'm doing it.
Sorry.
Street flash.
It's not working.
Why isn't it working? We got the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. Throw in the 9 of diamonds and the queen of diamonds. Jack of diamonds. We're doing diamonds everywhere.
Griffin, shut up. We've got flush over flush sickness here. And
Yeah,
this might be the end of Space.
Whew.
I'm not sure that Space is going to be able to get away from this.
Can't fold a flush, partner.
Drawing dead. And that will be the elimination of Space. And we are going heads up.